and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
I know. I know what you're reacting to. You're reacting to the news that.
There's nothing more annoying than breaking news. It's breaking, and then is this really news? Multiple teams receive sense that Bucks are open to trading Giannis.
It's too late. It's too late. The Dodgers have already traded for him. The Dodgers have Giannis on their roster.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's fine. You know, everybody can be excited about. The Dodgers are gobbling up everybody.
Yeah, I heard Jim Leonard is actually going to the Dodgers. Some people are saying that the Chargers are interested. No,
the Dodgers. The Dodgers are in. Yeah, he's gonna come out of the bullpen and pinch hit when needed. Welcome into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Stand by. We've got 3 hours of fantastic sports talk for the Flower City ahead. We're glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, in the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn apps. Also on our stream, you can watch the sports bar on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Yeah, as we've got the big press conference tomorrow. It's at noon. We'll have it for you right here live on The Fan. Joe Brady, his introductory press conference, not in the Bills media room, Danger, in the weight room.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what to take from that.
Here's my read on it. That, when you have a studio audience, the sitcoms do this just to get the laughter and get the energy up. So where the press conference for Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane wasn't best.
I don't blame them if they want a change of scenery.
Yeah, that's it. What you can do, and there's not the media room, it's not big for all staff to kind of come in. If you want all the staff to welcome in Joe Brady, and you have Brandon Beane, we want to welcome in the 17th head coach in Buffalo Bills history, Joe Brady. Yeah, you will have a studio audience of all Buffalo Bills employees. If it's the room,
is it the field house or the weight room?
It's the weight room, but when you say field house, you picture that's where they kick the balls and everything.
Yeah, it's a field.
Well, the weight room is right to the left of that. Okay. And you can picture this if you go to the stadium where you see the glass, you see everything, but they have like kind of a little mini field and a little workout area. So you can fit more people in there very easily, Danger. And change of scenery, you get that home crowd feel. It might work tomorrow from the Bills in that regard.
Well, the change of scenery, I think, is required. You definitely want to set a different tone. And while we expect to hear from Brandon Beane, Joe Brady, the one person we don't need to hear from is Terry Pagula. In fact, Terry Pagula can never, if he never spoke to the media again, I would be totally fine with that.
Au contraire. And like Terry Pagula, his thoughts. I think he should do a podcast.
Gene, no.
Absolutely.
Put a muzzle on that. You know what? I'm going to say this. It's not just NFL owners that we never need to hear from. I don't need to hear from billionaires. I don't need to hear from any billionaire on anything ever. When was the last time you heard a billionaire say something and you're like, oh, that's measured. That makes sense. That's grounded in reality. It never happens. Including,
I'm trying to come up with the example and
right it's alien syndrome.
Yeah,
it's just complete detachment, completely out of touch, totally tone deaf, narcissistic. No, I just don't need to hear from billionaires.
I would say Mr. Golisano has done great work in giving away some of his wealth. He's welcome into the sports bar. Everybody else,
yes,
yeah.
I don't want to be hypocritical. I haven't heard him speak publicly in I don't know how long. So I imagine that when he does speak publicly, it's always in a setting of, I'm giving you millions of my wealth for a new hospital or for a wing or whatever it might be, which in that regard, if that's the billionaire mindset that you have, yes, I would like to hear more of that.
That's what I would sign up for. But for Terry Pagula, his thoughts on the wide receiving core, come on, you don't want that?
I'm fine.
No,
I'm good.
Come on, bud.
I'm good.
All right, so tomorrow we'll have that. Brandon Beam will also speak. The question is, all right, we're assuming Josh Allen will be around. We'll see what players might be in town. We'll see. We'll get his thoughts. I mean, so many questions. Great show we have lined up today. We'll have some Bills talk coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Thad Brown from News 8 will give us his thoughts on what an unbelievable week in Bills history this has been, and where do we go from here? How does Joe Brady round out his staff? Some big decisions coming up. Thad Brown, News 8, joining us in the 4 o'clock hour.
We'll also have sports bar betting expert PJ Glasser on with us later this hour, about 20 minutes or so. We'll get his initial thoughts on the Super Bowl. PJ also a big college basketball and golf guy. Golf getting underway. Farmers this weekend, right?
Yeah, and I want to get his thoughts, too, because we have other NFL stories, and where if you thought Brady was a surprise hire in Buffalo, the Browns went with Todd Monken? Okay, fantastic. I didn't even know he was in that echelon. Maybe he can write an essay where these other kids that are 30 just didn't want to bother with it.
I mean, the way the Browns explain the rationale for the hiring of Todd Monken does make a lot of sense. I mean, he does have a pretty diverse resume as far as what he's done, where he's accomplished, what he's accomplished. And they are an organization right now that to say they're in transition, you don't know where they're going. What direction are they going to go with their personnel? How do they manage their way through everything?
So they do have a little bit extra draft capital. The pick from the Jags not as good as I'm sure they envisioned. Do they go quarterback, even though they have all these other guys? I don't think any of them passed the sniff test. So that's an interesting hire, and we'll ask PJ because he's rooted in Baltimore. We'll get his thoughts on Tom Monken, where I think everybody thought would follow Harbaugh to Baltimore, did not.
Yeah.
And if Monken wasn't getting along with Lamar Jackson, is there something to be said, hey, this is a team we have to get past in the division. How do we guard Lamar? How do we defend it?
Well, I think the Browns have always kind of played Baltimore tough with Monken. I'm more curious as to which one of these guys on their roster becomes his guy. You've got Gabriel, you've got Sanders, you've got Deshaun Watson. Is one of these guys going to be like buy in to Monken's offense? Who's going to excel? Who's going to rise up? I think that's fascinating, but you're still the Browns. Defensively, I think you're going to be fine, but you're going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator because Jim Schwartz, none too pleased that he didn't get that head coaching job, got passed over again.
It's going to be so confusing watching the AFC North next year. I mean, the Browns get a new coach every year, but McCarthy in Seattle. Who's this guy in Baltimore? Yeah. It's going to be pretty wild. We'll talk to PJ coming up. And also, at the end of the show today, Nighthawks are home Saturday night. Ryan Latchberry from the Nighthawks will be joining us end of the show today. You can also join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326, the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman.
Yeah, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
Let's take a call. Mike and Seabreeze leading off today. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. So, as I'm laying awake last night, this thought came to my head about who always benefits from our bad decisions. That's always the Kansas City Chiefs, right? So, what came to my mind is Sean McDermott's going to take a year off. What's going to end up happening next year? Andy Reid's going to retire. Casey's going to hire Sean. Sean McDermott's going to take them. We're going to end up playing them in the AFC Championship at Highmark, losing, and then they're going to go on to win the Super Bowl.
I'll listen to that. I'll listen to a lot of things with Sean McDermott in 2027. There was a report that the Bucs actually talked to Sean McDermott just to check in to see if he would be interested in joining Todd Bowles' staff. Now, we've all kind of assumed that he's going to take this year off and readdress his options next season, 2027. I would say that, because McDermott had interviewed for that job in 2016, because he overlapped with Jason Light, Bucs GM, when he was with the Eagles from 03 to 07. What's important to Sean McDermott? Does location matter? Do you want to be in Tampa? Because I don't see Todd Bowles making another season in Tampa. I can't believe he's there this year. Yeah,
I think Sean McDermott sees this as, all right, I've got kids. This is a year I'm getting paid, and I can pick my job. Here's the problem with that. And the problem is this. what if this works in Buffalo? Holy cow, the Bills got it right. That was the problem all along. That was the problem. I mean, how many years did Doug Collins have to wait till he got another problem? Paul Westphal or Westhead or whatever his name was out with the Lakers. You have to go back that far to try to find parallels. For Sean McDermott, if the Bills all of a sudden get to a Super Bowl, all right, does he look as a good candidate? And correct me if I'm wrong, Danger, he coaches the wrong side of the ball. Like, if you want to establish culture, you're looking at you, Jets, all right, McDermott's your guy. But if they go out and get a quarterback, hey, that's not the guy to develop a quarterback. How much did Sean McDermott have to do with developing Josh Allen? It is not a given that Sean McDermott is going to get a job next year.
Interesting. I think it is. I think it's an automatic. I think he absolutely, even if the Bills win a Super Bowl, I think Sean McDermott is, because Sean McDermott is that guy. He's a guy that will say all the right things. He'll wow in the interview. And if you need a culture change, and the Bucs will need a culture change, because look, Bucs have been a great story. I like Baker. I like their roster. I like their defense. I like a lot about Tampa Bay. The fact that they didn't make the playoffs this year, to me, I don't know how Todd Bowles is still there.
Ooh, I sense a bet. How confident are
Well,
you?
we got a box wine bet?
What do you think, buddy?
A box wine bet on whether or not Sean McDermott is a head coach or just a coach.
A head coach.
So he's got to be a head coach.
He's got to
in
be a head
2027.
coach. He could easily get a defensive coordinator job with anybody. Ooh, look at Danger.
Gino, you watch your mouth, okay? Because I know the executive producer is listening right now, and she's screaming at her radio. Don't do this to yourself, Gene. Don't get into a box wine bet with me. You know how this goes. And if you want a box wine bet on Sean McDermott coaching, you got one, pal.
Yeah.
You got one. Good luck with the executive producer tonight. She may not be on speaking terms with you. He's coaching next year.
No, we will get to the end of the coaching cycle next year, and poof. And again, let's make this clear. Head coach.
Head coach.
NFL. If he decides to take the wimpy route out and go college.
No AFL, no, what is it called? Not arena football.
Yeah.
UFL. No UFL.
No Syracuse University. No, none of that. It's got to be the NFL. And I think we're all just kind of blind to the fact if the Bills get out to a fresh start, you forget it. Like, it's over. You might as well, if the Bills are going to the Super Bowl, just come in with the box wine, and I will enjoy it.
Yeah, Gino. I mean,
what was the last one I won?
The last one you won, I don't remember. I know that the last one I won, it's a guy that didn't get into the Hall of Fame on his first crack at it. Bill Belichick not returning to the NFL.
The last one I won was Aaron Rodgers coming back to the NFL. And you couldn't join us on the air because you were doing high and mighty things here at Odyssey Rochester.
Oh, right.
And I had to call you up live on the air to let you know you lost.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
Do I have it?
No.
I don't know if I do or
You
if
do
I
not.
don't.
Sorry. You do not have it.
It was you calling me, catching me completely off guard, and then hanging up on me. Ugh. I won the bet. Click. Box wine. Bring it to me. Click. What? What just?
Yeah. Danger. Who is this? Like, you don't know. Like, the caller ID will tell you.
I didn't know. I had no idea who it was. Completely caught me.
See, this is Dan doing good things for me because he deleted that from the file. It's gone, Danger. This does not bode well for me if you find this.
Well, I mean, there's so many options for Gene hanging up on people. Let's see. You've hung up on me. You've hung up on Dan Fates. You've hung up on Catalana. There's just too many options here, right? We can't do all of these. We can't play every instance of you being a child and hanging up on somebody, prank calling and hanging up on somebody. I don't have it. I don't know.
Yes.
I could probably look and find it, but I'm not going to do it in real time here. That's just not great radio. Not that we're delivering great radio on a consistent basis. Anyways,
speak for yourself.
So yeah, I think it's an automatic. And you've got ties with Tampa Bay. The Jets will certainly be looking for another head coach. He could turn a culture around there. I think it's an automatic. And who knows who could be a one and done after 2027 as well.
It'll be fun, but if there were 10 openings this year, crazy. I mean, what do we get next year? Half that, perhaps. Coordinator watch now, where this time yesterday thinking, ooh, Jim Leonard, that will be really good. And we mentioned this off the top of the show as kind of a joke. Apparently the Chargers want to talk. And now Jim Leonard is getting interest from others, Danger. And also to hear that Joe Brady is going to be calling the plays next year for the Buffalo Bills on offense. So in terms of a coordinator, what type of coordinator can you attract if really they're not going to be calling the plays? Right.
Well, that leads to the belief that maybe you promote your quarterback's coach and just make him the OC.
Curry.
Yeah, you just make Curry the OC and give him a promotion. Davis Webb, by the way, has been requested for offensive coordinator interviews with the Eagles, the Giants, and the Ravens. Now, we had made the assumption yesterday that if the Broncos are going to move off of Joe Lombardi, which they did, that opens a door for a promotion for Davis Webb with Denver to stay in Denver. But he's been requested for these interviews with the Ravens, the Giants, and the Eagles, and we already know he interviewed for the head coaching job here in Buffalo.
You go to the Eagles as the offensive coordinator, that might be the team where if you can have success, but it's just kind of messy all around you, you'll be in a good spot.
Back to Leonard for a second, because let's say L.A. is the desired destination for him, and he chooses L.A. over Buffalo, or L.A. offers him more than Buffalo can. Write whatever amount of check you need to Jim Schwartz and get him back in Buffalo because of no, I mean, I think also there's a scheme fit with Schwartz and the Bills' defense and personnel and who they employ. I think that would be a good win.
Danger. Why do we think Leonard should be the guy, somebody that is untested? Sure, he's on a track to rise. Schwartz has proven.
Right.
He has put out good defense. Oh, anybody could do that
head
with Miles
coaching
Garrett.
experience,
Yep.
working with a guy who's never been a head coach. The only question I have about Schwartz is where's his head? Is he in a angry vendetta kind of mood, which maybe is good, or is he in a defeated, down, depressed, I can't believe I didn't get the job in Cleveland? Where's his head at is what I'd be more concerned about than anything.
You are calling the Browns. Now, the tricky thing is he's pissed, and the Browns still have him under contract. So how does that work?
Well, from reports, he's essentially told everybody he's out. That if he's getting passed over, he's out. And he's said his goodbyes when they made the announcement. He's out, and I don't know what that means for his contract. I don't know what any of that means.
It's his opportunity. He sees other opportunities like the Chargers and the Bills.
Right.
Where can you go and actually, and he probably has a desire, Danger, to be a head coach sometime again. If you can't even land the gig in Cleveland, then what am I doing here?
I told you, the NFL has a type. I don't know that Jim Schwartz is the type that the NFL wants as a head coach moving forward. Speaking of defensive coordinators, Bobby Babich is going to Green Bay. He'll be their defensive pass game coordinator and coach the DBs for the Packers.
Don't hear anybody too upset about that. When we talk to Thad Brown, though, who would you consider McDermott, Babich guys on this roster? I'll start with the easy one. Jordan Poyer, I think, was already telling people, no, I won't be back. This is it. Okay. Well, that's a guy who actually started for you for the majority of the season. What about Shaq Thompson? He's a free agent. I don't think he'll be coming back. Matt Milano. Hard for me to see the Bills bringing him back. What about Terrell Bernard? What about Taron Johnson? There are questions about the scheme, and we'll ask Thad these questions, and he's not going to know who the next defensive coordinator is, but I think there is an opportunity really to remake that whole defense. And I think it's just as simple as getting guys who can tackle, honestly. If you could just start at that mid-level, Danger, where, hey, Matt Milano, he's good for a play every other game, and Shaq Thompson, we like what we did at the end. You got to have another option than Bernard because the guy can't stay healthy. If you can find two linebackers, I think that defense will look markedly different next year.
Yeah. Love to know who's leading it, though. Schwartz would make sense, assuming he's in a good spot and wants to continue to be a defensive coach. By the way, the Jags announced that Grant Udinski is going to return in 2026 to be their OC. Anthony Campanelli will also be back as their defensive coordinator, so the Jags will have continuity in their coaching staff heading into 2026.
Okay, so a lot of these jobs really filling up. The only head coaching vacancies right now, and maybe we will have news by the end of the show, who knows, the Raiders and the Cardinals. I don't think anybody had Monken going to the Browns, so we'll see if there's a surprise kind of person. If I'm the Raiders, I would say they wait for Kubiak. Why not at this point? You're going to have to wait for your new quarterback. So why not wait for the Seahawks offensive coordinator? The Arizona thing, you've identified this. Hard to get a read in what direction they want to go. Is that a good job or not? Let's start with Kyler Murray. I would think that should be a teardown. I would hire a guy that, all right, maybe you're going to have a lean year or two here. And is that guy offensive-minded? Defense, is it Weaver? I really don't know.
LaFleur feels like a guy that would take that job. OC in L.A., go to Arizona. But, I mean, we talk about the dysfunction of the Browns. I think Arizona is probably just as bad. You're dealing with just craziness in the front office and ownership. So, it's not lost on me that the last 4 head coaching vacancies filled: the Bills, the Browns, the Raiders, the Cardinals. Crazy owners, bad owners.
McDermott shielded a lot of stuff. And friend of the show, Evan Shute, saw him today.
Oh, Evan.
Yeah, Ed Shute's Evan. Flow this past me, and about the Brady hire, would you buy this theory? It's interesting. I don't know if I buy it. That the Brady hire is an overreaction by the Bills brass, not realizing, maybe we got this wrong letting go McDermott. It's too late now, but we need to keep the same culture.
I don't think so. I think this was the plan all along. I think the great irony in all of this is for all of the posturing and protesting on power plays that Terry Pagula gave us last week in the press conference. That's all this was. This was all a giant power play. It's Brandon Beane in the ear of the owner at the right time, being opportunistic, saying the right things, pointing the finger at the coach. And then an offensive coordinator who probably was close with the general manager, echoing a lot of the same sentiments to the general manager, to the owner, and working against Sean McDermott.
There are 2 tells here. The one tell is after the Denver game, how Sean McDermott, out of character, went out of his way to quote Buffalo. We got hosed on a call, essentially, and then to really, ramp it up on a plane ride home. He knew he was in trouble. He knew that was his last-ditch effort. The other is Beane. And Beane, we know you can push his buttons. Not that Jeremy and Joe did. Honestly, they didn't. They were just talking about wide receivers, and Brandon Beane didn't like it. And you know why? Because it cut close to home. He had been hearing about it, and he came out guns a-firing. And Danger, if I asked you, Mike Danger, are you an alien? Are you a billionaire?
I am not a billionaire.
No. So, if I said to you, Mike Danger, do you do power plays here in the office? No. So to hear Brandon Beane get really, really super defensive about power play and my name and my family, bring up that to me is a tell that, all right, when you protest that much,
you're saying too much.
Yeah.
You're full of S. You're saying too much. We got to get to PJ Glasser. He is our sports bar betting expert. We'll get some early takes on the Super Bowl. Monken going to the Browns. PJ, being a Ravens guy, is familiar with his work. We'll talk about that as well. It will allow ourselves to start to talk Super Bowl here. I don't know how many people listening really. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, so we care, but it's also like, oh God, it's the Patriots again. Do we really want to dive into this? We'll
this is like the only time this week we'll dive into it. Like I suppose next week we'll have Fitzy, our guy Michael F. Florio, and see if they're going to be on Radio Row. We'll have that sort of flavor next week as we're like, okay, sure, it's a Super Bowl, it's our final football game, but this will be the only real Super Bowl talk I envision this week here in the Sports Bar.
PJ Glasser, Odyssey Sports and Sports Bar betting expert, stopping by next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
New Buffalo Bills head coach Joe Brady will have his introductory press conference noon tomorrow. We'll carry it live for you right here on The Fan. Eric Wood on the new head coach.
I'm excited for Joe. I've had some experience being around him. There's a certain level of accountability that Joe brings on a day-to-day basis to that quarterback room, to the offense. I am much more excited about Joe Brady coming in than I would have been with a lot of the other candidates. I'll say that.
Former defensive coordinator Bobby Babich lands a new job. He will be on the Green Bay staff. Browns have hired former Ravens OC Todd Monken as their new head coach. It's hockey night tonight in the Flower City. The Amherst hosting Hershey. Our coverage will begin at 7. Sabres tomorrow night hosting the Kings. Sports brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Get a $50 certificate toward dinner at Brown Hound Downtown. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the Sports Bar, it's Danger and Battaglia. Always love catching up with our buddy, Sports Bar betting expert PJ Glasser. It's Wednesday. PJ, before we talk about your favorite plays for today, I'm sure you've got some college basketball plays that you're eyeing. Maybe we could talk a little bit of golf as well, and we'll certainly scratch the itch on the Super Bowl. Todd Monken got hired by the Cleveland Browns. What are they getting in their new head coach?
Yeah, I mean, look, Monken obviously did some good things with the Ravens. You know, Lamar won an MVP under Monken under the last 3 seasons. They were one of the highest scoring teams in the league. It's a different personnel that he's going to have to work with this time around. Ultimately, I think his success is going to be judged on whatever quarterback he has to deal with. If it's Shador or Watson comes back, or they go after a veteran, somebody in the draft, whoever it may be, he's going to have to develop them. And that was the big task when he was coming into Baltimore. You know, Lamar only had Greg Roman as his OC, and they really wanted to have Lamar really revolutionize him in the passing game and have him evolve, and they felt like they did that. So that'll be the job of Monken. I think the bigger story, though, guys, is now that Monken takes the job, all these reports coming out that Jim Schwartz is going to leave as a defensive coordinator. I thought that was a pretty good combo with Monken as the head coach, calling plays, Schwartz as the DC. With Schwartz leaving, even though the Browns obviously have a lot of talent on defense, you know, that side of the ball might not be as strong as it's been the last couple of years.
All right, PJ, you're a neutral observer. Like, if you were filling the defensive coordinator vacancy for a team, I don't know, let's say Buffalo, is it Jim Schwartz? Is it Jim Leonard? Is it somebody else? Who would be the best guy available?
I think both of those options are really good. I think certainly Pittsburgh is going to be in the mix. San Francisco is going to be in the mix after losing Saleh. You would have to think the Chargers are going to be in the mix after losing Minter. So you got a lot of teams that made the playoffs this past year that want to take that next step, that are going to be looking for a defensive coordinator. But I think Buffalo right now, of all those teams that offer, you know, that still need to fill the defensive coordinator vacancy, I mean, they offer as strong a case as anybody because of who's on the other side of the ball. So I think Schwartz makes a lot of sense. Leonard makes a lot of sense. If I'm a Bills fan, I definitely want one of those two guys as a defensive coordinator.
So what's your initial reaction to Minter? I'm sure, like most coaches, he won the press conference, but you got your guy, PJ.
We did. That's who I wanted, Danger. I'm very happy. The comp that I've been making, you guys, and I've been telling people is Mike McDonald, who's obviously getting ready to coach in his first Super Bowl with Seattle, who's with the Ravens as the defensive coordinator. I think he's essentially defensive Sean McVay, and I think Jesse Minter is defensive Kevin O'Connell. That's kind of how I'm comping them, right? So I think McVay is the best offensive coach we have in the league, and McDonald right now is the best young defensive coach we have in the league. And then I think O'Connell, who's obviously terrific on offense, I kind of think Minter is his comp on defense. One of the biggest tells for me, guys, and I'm sure you probably feel this way too, when a player leaves, And like the entire fan base is sad to see that person go, and everybody loved the job that he did. It kind of speaks volume. It's the same way that all the Ravens fans felt when McDonald left. We knew how great of a coach he would be, how good of a job he would do in Seattle, and obviously this is what's happening. And looking at the reaction around the league, and especially from the Chargers fan base, seeing how they're all reacting to Minter is kind of giving me similar vibes. So I think we got a great one, and obviously the big question now is who they're going to hire as offensive coordinator.
You know, our audience here in Western New York not real excited about another Super Bowl featuring the New England Patriots in a year where that AFC was wide open. It's them; they're getting into the Super Bowl. PJ, this looks too good to be true. Seattle giving 4.5, low over under on this. So your initial thoughts here on whether it's picking a team outright, whether it's the over under. What are some plays we should kind of kick around in our head right now when it comes to the Super Bowl?
So I love the under. That's definitely my favorite play. If I had to look at side and total, would be taking under 46, right? Two defensive head coaches in Vrabel and McDonald, two quarterbacks in May and Darnold who have never played in a Super Bowl before. And one of the biggest advantages historically, guys, is when you have a Super Bowl matchup with a coach and quarterback that have played in a Super Bowl before versus a coach and quarterback that have not played or coached in one before. Now, obviously, this year, we don't get that. That's why if the Rams were in this game with Stafford and McVay, who've been in the Super Bowl together, I would be all over the Rams in this game against the Patriots because this would be McVay's third trip. He knows how to handle those 2 weeks, everything that comes with it. I think all of that is so important. But Vrabel and McDonald are such film rats, and they get their team so prepared, and they're such good defensive coaches that I think in these 2 weeks, they're really going to have good game plans for these opposing offenses. So I think that leans me towards the under in this game. The other thing I keep coming around to, you guys, was before the playoffs started, I think, when everybody was picking their NFC champion, a lot of people were gun shy on taking Seattle because of Darnold, right? They didn't trust him. Big games, that's when Darnold tends to falter. Well, now that we've reached the Super Bowl, it feels like everybody's picking Seattle, and everybody is all of a sudden just forgetting about how they felt about Sam Darnold because of two performances, right? Now, maybe he just does play great again, and maybe he's awesome and Seattle wins the game by 3 scores, but I don't know, man. Patriots defense has been great. They get 2 weeks to prepare, and we've all kind of been waiting for that Darnold performance. So that to me is the most interesting thing coming into this game. I feel both defenses are going to play well, but to me, how is Sam Darnold going to play?
Is there any sort of player props that have your eye early on here? Anything that you're thinking about as far as how this game script could go come a week from Sunday, PJ?
So I think one of the big things that the Patriots have done this postseason that's been surprising is how little they've used Travion Henderson, right? It's been a heavy dose of Ramondre where a bunch of fantasy owners would tell you early on in the season, It's like, where's Travion? And then later on in the season, he starts to have some monster games. Vrabel's really leaned on Stevenson. And in a big game like this against a defense as good as that, I would probably look to fade Travion again under 17.5 rushing yards. You can't really run on Seattle's defense that much to begin with, so I would target his under rushing, and I would actually target Ramondre's over receiving yards. These running backs, have been doing really good in the receiving game against the Seahawks because, again, you can't run. Usually you're trailing. You have to play from behind. And Drake May against these great teams, he always turns the ball over. Interceptions, fumbles. He didn't do that against Denver, but he only threw for 86 yards and he ran for 70 yards. So I think it's going to be a similar game plan where he maybe doesn't take as many chances, leans on his legs, short, easy throws. So fade Henderson in the running game and look at Ramondre in the receiving game.
Yeah, PJ, here in New York State, we can't do some of these prop bets, right? It's hopefully someday we will. Like, hey, for example, Alcatraz Island. Will NBC show this? That's at plus 550 right now if you're interested. But my question for you is this: that yes, all this stuff is fun, but for our listeners that want to hit the grand slam here, your advice, what is the best way to kind of build a parlay? Meaning this plus this plus this, and I'm going to really enjoy Super Bowl Sunday.
My best advice for people would be to just wait. Wait until Saturday night, Sunday morning, because as we know, there's going to be so much money that goes into this game. There's going to be so much handle. There's going to be so many tickets. These prices are going to get so inflated. And a lot of times in the Super Bowl, you guys, these lines are probably 3-4 yards off of what they should be. But people just want to bet overs because they want to root for all these guys to run for 1,000,000 yards and throw for 1,000,000 yards, right? They want entertainment. They want shootouts. So my advice, if you want to build a parlay, again, I like the under. I don't think this is a great game to do like an anytime touchdown parlay or anything like that. So I kind of just think you wait, you sit back, you wait for Darnold's passing yards to get as high as it can and JSN's receiving yards and, Kenneth Walker's rushing yards and all those sorts of things. And I would just bet unders. So that's how I would go about it. I wish this was a game where I saw a lot of points, but I kind of think it's going to be a 1st to 20. So if you were to parlay some things, I'd probably look at unders on a lot of the props.
PJ, I, for one, in the meantime, before we get to the Super Bowl next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully some blue, sunny skies on the golf course at Torrey Pines there in San Diego. The Farmers is this weekend. We know you've got your finger on the pulse of the PGA Tour. Is there anything from this weekend's action in the PGA Tour that you are looking at?
Yeah, so the Farmers Insurance, you guys, they split this up into a couple different courses, Torrey Pines North and South, right? So when you think Torrey Pines, where they play like the U.S. Open and all those sorts of things, that's on the South course, which is much more difficult. They also use the North course, which is a little bit easier, where guys are trying to go like 7-8 under. So it makes the handicap a little bit more difficult. But for me, anytime I'm handicapping this event, I'm always looking for bombers. I'm always looking guys that can smoke it off the tee. I'm looking for good long iron players as well because the rough is nasty at Torrey, and they do have some long par 3s and some long par 4s as well. They also have a couple of 600-yard par 5s, right? So if you get some guys that can mash it, maybe they have a chance of getting it on the green in 2 potentially. Cantlay, I think, is a decent look this week at 22-1. He's been playing pretty well. And I think, a California kid who normally plays well on those courses, I think will be a good look. And then J.J. Spawn is a guy that I like a lot this week. Won the U.S. Open last year. J.J. Spawn was one of the best, you guys, on tour last year of any golfer who combines hitting it far with hitting it accurate. And that's what I'm looking for this week at Torrey. He won at Oakmont last year, so we know that he can win on difficult courses. So I like Spawn and Cantlay this week. Those would be the 2 guys I would look at.
Of course, we were just nearly a month away from the month of March, right, PJ? That is your month to shine here, buddy. College basketball, your wheelhouse. Anything tonight, anything this week you could give us a tip on?
Yeah, this week, guys, we got some really good games. Tonight, there's not a lot that jumped out at me. I did bet some Mississippi State at +6.5. They're actually at +7.5 now. These are 2 of the worst teams in the SEC. Mississippi State's lost 5 in a row. LSU's lost 6 of 7. But, for a team like LSU, I do this a lot across all sports. When a team that usually isn't a favorite is laying this amount of points, I tend to like to fade them. And I think Mississippi State is a team that really struggles against the top half of the SEC, but against the bottom half, that's when they tend to play pretty well. So I think 7.5, too many points. I like Mississippi State. And then over the weekend, we get some really good games. Michigan takes on Michigan State on Friday. I would look at the Wolverines in that game, and I would look at the first half under as well. Obviously, in-state rival, 2 great defensive teams. East Lansing, Breslin Center is going to be on fire on Friday. It's going to be a great environment. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring game in the first 20 minutes. I just think Michigan's better, and I think that's a bad matchup for Michigan State because the Spartans are elite defensively, but they really struggle to shoot the three-pointer. And Nebraska showed you last night, if you want to pull the upset on Michigan or keep it close, you shoot the 3. Nebraska, they hung 50 on them in the first half and made 10 three-pointers. They only made 1 in the second half, and that's why they lost by 3. So that's the thing with Michigan. If you're knocking down your threes, you have a chance to beat them. I just don't trust Michigan State to do that. So I'd lean with the Wolverines in that one and the first half under as well.
PJ, I love having you on with us every week here in the Sports Bar to share some of your favorite plays, some of your knowledge, some of your insight. And I believe, and I don't want to put you on the spot, do we have a new place, a new way to consume more of your content here moving forward?
We do, you guys. Yeah, so we got the Game Day Garage, which we've already, my buddy Nick Ashew, he started it.
Nice.
And we got a bunch of basically people doing a bunch of different sports, so I'll be covering college basketball and golf. We got a guy for the World Cup coming up, and we got baseball people. And so we'll be starting some podcasts soon and live streaming some of the big events that we have in the sports calendar. So stay tuned for that. And then also I have my own little podcast that I've been starting, Hoops and Five, drop about 2 or 3 episodes every week talking college basketball. So, everybody can check those 2 things out, Hoops and Five and Game Day Garage as well.
Yeah, the Seahawks, I really love their secondary, PJ, and I was hoping that the Bills would draft this guy from South Carolina, second rounder last year, delivered a hit there in the NFC Championship game too.
Nick Umanori, you guys, he is fantastic, that guy. I like that Seahawks defense, gentlemen.
PJ, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you again next week. We'll get ready for the big game.
Absolutely. Thanks, fellas. Talk to you next week.
Here's PJ Glasser, sports bar betting expert. Some plays for
I love that guy.
tonight's action and this weekend as well. He's the best, the absolute best. And you know what? Worth checking out. And he's working with the shoe. And Nick, you remember Nick from BetMGM Tonight back in the day with Trista and Ryan Horvat. Yeah. So good to have PJ on with us. And we'll look forward to getting more of his favorite plays for the Super Bowl next week at this time. Next hour, Thad Brown, News 8 Sports, joins us. Let's take a quick break here, Gina. We'll come back. We have time for your calls if you want to pull up a stool. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Americans hockey. Just say play 95.7 The Fan on your smart speaker and stay connected to The Fan Rochester. Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Got a few minutes here for your calls at 866-4326. If you want to pull up a stool, 585-866-4FAN. Thad Brown, News 8 sports director, stops by the sports bar in the 4 o'clock hour. Gino, we didn't get a chance really yesterday to talk about a story that started to break as we were getting off the air.
It was one of those, are you kidding me? You and I were like,
I got pissed. I'm like, this is insane. It's ridiculous to me that the voters for the Pro Football Hall of Fame would sit high atop Mount Pius and wave their finger at a coach that won 6 Super Bowls and not make him a first ballot Hall of Famer.
So there are only 50 voters for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they take this process very seriously. Now, this is a mixture of guys like Gary Myers from Newsday, like Armando, who actually presented the case, Armando Salguero from Outkick, longtime NFL writer, and then somehow Bill Polian and others are on this committee. So the initial report comes out yesterday that Bill Polian was leading the charge in terms of keeping Bill Belichick, making him not a first-time ballot. You're going to wait a year. So
petty.
So petty.
Stupid.
So petty. So, all right, Deidre, I would listen to anybody's argument if you stood by that argument.
Oh, yeah, you got to put your name on it.
Yeah. So what did writers do right away? We need to call Bill Polian. So Van Atta from ESPN calls him, gets it on the phone. I categorically deny this. And then that's the headline story. People okay, that wasn't right. Except. Hey, the follow-up question, did you vote for him or not? I don't remember. I'm 95% sure, but I'm not. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Lies.
Is it worse that he lied, or do you really want somebody with a ballot that can't remember what they did in a decision like this?
Lies. Polian is trouble, man.
Polian, his star has fallen. But if you think about it, the Bills make 3 straight Super Bowls with a good roster, and Ralph Wilson's like, you know what? You're such a jerk. I'm firing you. And that's how they landed on John Butler.
Right.
So, like, after the third loss, yeah, you're out. And then since that point, hey, Bill Polian, he built this thing in Indianapolis, beloved Hall of Famer. I don't know. A lot of people have pointed out his gross take, so incorrect on Lamar Jackson.
He's very biased. I feel like he has a bias. Well, I mean, the year that Jackson was drafted by the Ravens was, he was on a campaign. This guy isn't a quarterback. He's a wide receiver. He should play wide receiver. And he was very vocal about that. The year prior, 2018?
Yes,
2017.
So 2018 was, hey, Lamar Jackson's a wide receiver. No, I'm not being racist. That's not it at all. Okay, one guy won 2 MVPs. But we are in the sports bar of a piece of audio from 2017.
Yeah, this was Bill Polian on the old Mike and Mike show on ESPN Radio. Remember that?
And by the way, the most talented quarterback in the draft is probably Chad Kelly, but he's got a ton of baggage.
Yes, he
so,
does.
You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yes, he
another
does.
issue.
Chad Kelly.
Okay, so Chad Kelly,
Yeah.
who was kicked off of Clemson, went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Okay, and ended up being like a 7th round. He was Mr. Relevant by the Denver Broncos.
And he got in trouble with the Broncos. He didn't last long in the NFL. I always said I thought Chad Kelly could have been a great NFL quarterback, that he had the arm talent where he could have, but he couldn't stay out of trouble. He couldn't get out of his own way.
Okay, so what's the rest of the story? Everybody think back. Who was the first quarterback taken? Well, it was Mitch Trubisky. But
Mitch Trubisky, my friend.
who goes at number 10 overall?
Oh, I remember. Patrick Mahomes. The Bills traded out of the pick, and Patrick Mahomes went to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and how many times because Bill Polian, Chad Kelly, boy, oh boy, if it doesn't work out with Josh, and we should bring in Chad Kelly, who's up in the CFL. Yeah, it's not a good look, but getting it back to Belichick, even though it's not all writers, there are some writers. Has baseball writer disease crept over to football?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is There's plenty of vacancy atop of Mount Pius. You could have former athletes up there. You can have writers from multiple sports up there for sure. Commissioners, whatever you want. There's plenty of vacancy atop Mount Pius.
I think it's a combination of, all right, he did that, and I think the real reason is that he was an a-hole. For example, when Tom Brady is up, are they going to make Tom Brady wait a year because of Deflategate?
Yeah.
You're saying that you will.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like
Doesn't
likely
compute
to
it, no.
It doesn't seem likely to happen. Is there another element to this? The Bill Belichick, you take away all of the shine from the 6 Super Bowls, and you could say, oh, there was scandal and he cheated and all of that stuff. When Brady left, things went badly quickly in New England. And then the child bride comes into his life. Do you think they want to kind of avoid that scene for a year? The NFL saying, let's just kind of let that subside a little bit because it's kind of weird.
She's waiting. Like, what is she waiting around for?
Kind of weird. Do we want her up there on stage with him? Do we want to see them making out as he's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame? It's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm stretching it. I just think that you've got some real a-holes voting for the Hall of Fame. Not just that, cowardice a-holes. Put your name on it. I want the guy to say, yeah, I didn't put him in. Here's why. But we're not going to hear that because they're cowards. And I think McAfee had a rant on Sports Writer. I don't know if it was last week or when it was, but there's a lot of people that cover sports that hate sports. And when they have the ability to flex any sort of power, they have dominion over any sort of decision, they take it and they use it because it's the only shred of power that they have. And it's gross. It's sad. I don't like it. You cover sports. It's a great job. None of us should take it for granted. Yet some guys are just so unhappy in their own skin covering sports. They hate sports. And those are the people that I can imagine saying, no, we're not going to vote Bill Belichick in because Bill Belichick was always an a-hole at the press conference, and he cheated, and he is a child bride now. I don't know. I mean.
Well, and on top of it, too, the fact that Brady gets to a Super Bowl, and they were able to rebuild everything very quickly. Here, the timing of this does not bode well.
I did say, I've been the one that's always said, I don't view him as the greatest coach of all time. I do not. And it became very clear when Brady left and won and continued to win, it's Brady more than it is Belichick. All of that being said, while I still believe that, all of that being said, a guy who wins 6 Super Bowls should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He should be in. He's not the primary reason. I think Brady is still the primary reason. But he's a hell of a football coach. He won 6 Super Bowls. He should be in the Hall of Fame. First ballot. It's insane to me.
One interview in the NFL since he got fired by the Patriots. Or he actually resigned. Whatever.
Yeah. Not surprising. That was actually our last box wine bet, too, by the way. I feel good about our new box wine bet if you're just joining us.
Actually, it was not. It was me winning with Aaron Rodgers, and we don't have any audio.
That's because I lose with grace, Gene. You have the audio of there's. I'll find it.
You lost with grace. I'm not saying that I do not win with grace.
No,
That's
you are a sore winner and sore loser. Just grumpy, one way or the other. Box wine coming my way when McDermott is coaching again in 2027.
Head coaching.
Yeah, head coaching.
Yeah.
That's right. Thad Brown, News 8 Sports, going to join us next. We'll talk more about the Joe Brady hiring and filling out that coaching staff, the big press conference tomorrow, what to expect, and more with Thad Brown, News 8 Sports Director, next on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the WNBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
It'll be a newsy day tomorrow in Buffalo, and Joe Brady has his introductory press conference at noon. We will have it for you live here on the Fan Rochester. Eric Wood today talking about the offense and defense.
Offensively, you assume it'll be fairly the same, where Joe Brady loves to attack matchups, whether that's on the ground, whether that's through the air. Defensively, I'd love to know what direction he wants to go. And oftentimes it's interesting. Oftentimes you'll go with a coordinator that you feel like that, style is the hardest to go against.
There will be a new defensive coordinator in Buffalo, Bobby Babbage, now on Green Bay's staff. The Cleveland Browns have hired former Ravens OC Todd Monken as their new head coach. Hockey tonight in the Flower City. The Amherst hosting Hershey. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossberg will have your call beginning at 7. Sabres back home tomorrow night against the Kings. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
We're going to check in with News 8 Sports Director Thad Brown. He's going to join us here in less than 20 minutes as we welcome you back into the Sports Bar. Thanks for joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can watch the Sports Bar. Our stream is up on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester, and we're always in the free-to-download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn apps.
So just 2 vacancies left in the NFL, that being the Raiders and the Cardinals. The Browns did, something unexpected, but I guess, he passed the SAT there. Todd Monken going to
Got
Cleveland.
all of his homework in on time. Yeah, his midterm grades were high enough where they would consider him. I guess the way they present it, the way Barry presented it in the statement about hiring Monken, the diversity in his background, his coaching background, like the places where he's had success, where he's learned, where he's cut his teeth, where he's won. This Browns team, at best, can be described as transitional. And if you've got that going for you, maybe a guy who's been through a lot of different scenarios like Todd Monken is exactly who you need. I think it's going to be fascinating to see which direction or who he latches onto at quarterback, or who they tell him to latch onto at quarterback, and how he can get the most out of that quarterback, whoever it might be.
Yeah, what's funny is, these are all recycled names. Even Monken. We think of the name Freddie Kitchens, oh, gosh, that guy, remember? Monken was his offensive coordinator. So this is his second tour of duty in Cleveland. So not exactly inspiring if you're a Browns fan. I suppose you could have done worse here. I think the thing for Bills fans, and this is an interesting debate. Do you want the up-and-coming guy in Jim Leonard, who might know a thing or two about a team also that you're going to have to contend with, whether you like it or not next year? Denver's defense is going to keep them in games, and they will be hovering around a playoff spot, I would expect. Or do you want Jim Schwartz? Jim Schwartz apparently told everybody, I'm leaving, said his goodbyes today. Now, to clarify, he's still under contract for Cleveland. So I would assume the Browns would let him out of the contract because he thought he was getting the head coaching job. They can't force him against his will. I would think that would be just good business. Okay, we didn't go with you as head coach. You want to go somewhere else, you are free to go. But it's the Browns. I don't know how it would go. But to me, that would get Bills fans excited. The kind of reaction that we experienced here, maybe you and your friends, hey, Joe Brady's the head coach. And we're all kind of like, it's like the meme of the guy opening up the Christmas present. He's wearing the same shirt.
Yeah.
Did that really change anything? And then, maybe McDermott was holding him back. And then we come to rationalize it, how it might work. Hey, how it really might work? This defense actually might be better under new leadership.
I like the idea of Jim Schwartz with the Bills for a couple of reasons. Biggest reason is he's got head coaching experience. He's got a presence, and he's got experience that can help a guy who's never been a head coach before in Joe Brady. And the Bills personnel that they have and the scheme that they run, this is a fit. Jim Schwartz would actually be a pretty good fit, I think, for what they're doing defensively, and you would have a little bit of continuity there. It wouldn't be exactly the same, but with the personnel you have, I think Jim Schwartz makes a lot of sense.
Well, and this is going back to Bean, and what might be different here is, hey, we're going to make sure that we're in alignment with our coaching staff and our personnel on the field. And was it that way when you were kind of sort of married to this defense that Sean McDermott liked to run? That's why I'm thinking you're going to see drastic changes here on the defense. Names you're familiar with that, hey, maybe this is going to be a different direction here.
I will say this, too. For as much as I like the experience of Jim Schwartz and the idea of bringing him in to kind of be that adult in the room with a first-time head coach, I almost feel like the Bills won't do that because he'll be the adult in the room and push back. You mentioned it through the process of the head coaching search. Brandon Beane is going to want somebody who doesn't push back. They want to be in lockstep, right? They want to have as much agreement as possible when it comes to building this roster and setting the personnel. And so a guy like Schwartz might not be that collaborative. He's been around a long time, and he might be the smartest guy in the room if you ask him. And a younger, less experienced defensive coordinator might be what they desire for that reason only.
Yeah, yeah. And with Leonard this time yesterday, we see the initial report like, aha, that makes sense. Yes, bring him in. What do agents do? They want to create a market for their client. And, it's leaked to the Goombas today that, hey, the Chargers would like to talk also to Jim Leonard. All right. Yeah. So, and there's other teams out there, the Niners, the Giants.
And isn't it funny also, if we're going to talk about Denver coordinators and Denver coaches, that a day after they move off of their offensive coordinator in Denver in Lombardi, that Davis Webb is taking offensive coordinator interviews with the Eagles, the Giants, and the Ravens. Oh, you want to promote me in Denver? Well, you're going to have some competition.
Yes, you can promote me. Pay me.
That's right.
That's ultimately coaches do the same thing that their players do. And this is what the agent's doing. This isn't like a reporter digging around like, oh, my gosh, like he's going to secretly finding out. No, the agent is feeding this. When Denver fires their offensive coordinator, like you and I instantly, okay, then Joe Webb is not coming to Buffalo. That is not happening.
Yeah, Davis Webb will.
Excuse me, Joe Webb is the quarterback. Davis Webb, thank you.
Davis Webb will get the promotion unless Denver cheaps out and he gets more money to go be the OC for the Ravens, the Giants, or the Eagles.
I can tell you 100% certain Davis Webb and Joe Webb are not going to be the offensive coordinators in Buffalo. The other thing too is Joe Brady is not going to really have this big-time offensive coordinator because Joe Brady is going to be calling the offensive plays. Now, I don't want to waffle. I was always on the position danger that McDermott should be thinking about game management situations. And for some head coaches, it works. But then again, this is a guy that's new at this, and this will be a kind of concern. We are not used to, check that. I don't know if we've ever had a head coach for the Buffalo Bills doing the play calling where you see the play call and going up to them, right at the mic there so you're not reading lips or anything like that. Mm-hmm. This is going to be totally different next year, and I'm not sure I'm on board with that.
I'm fine with it. Whatever gives Josh and Joe Brady continuity, it's the same voice in his headset. This offense has been working. I know the eye test says that there's more meat on the bone, and I'll hear that, but it's a good offense. It's been a good offense with Joe Brady calling plays. I'm good with it. I know what you're saying. I get it, and I understand you want your head coach thinking globally and being, but tell that to McVay, tell that to LaFleur, tell that to anybody who calls plays. Sean Payton is still calling plays.
Right, so that goes to the, I know you want to make sure you have a defensive coordinator who's malleable and not going to push back. That's why I think Schwartz would make a good thing. Hey, when Sean McVay, you brought up McVay, when they first got rolling, it was Wade Phillips. It was almost like you had co-head coaches.
Yeah.
Wade Phillips was the DC.
Yeah.
And McVay didn't even care about that side. He was going and looking at film, and he was more interested in that. And that's fine if you have somebody on the other side.
That's right.
But a first-time defensive coordinator, I don't know if you can afford that.
Yeah, right. Hiring a guy like Jim Schwartz would certainly free up Joe Brady's time to focus on the offense, focus on the game plan plays that he's going to call on a week in and week out basis. One name we know won't be back with the Buffalo Bills as far as the coaching staff is concerned is former Bills defensive coordinator Bobby Babich, now the defensive pass game coordinator and DB's coach in Green Bay.
Okay, great. Like, you knew there wasn't going to – does that tell you everything you want to know? Like P.J. Glatzer said this earlier. Like, hey, you know if somebody's good when your fan base is like, oh, no, we can't lose him. And he brought it up. And this was true in Baltimore. McDonald goes out the door. And in 2 years, he turns that Seattle team completely around.
Yeah.
And there they are in the Super Bowl.
I've heard a few people make that analogy as to why the Brady hire was done, that if you really want to try and make sense of why the Bills – promoted from within after saying that they needed to change and that what they had wasn't enough to get them over the hump. It's guys like McDonald. It's guys like Liam Cohen and Dave Canales, guys that left organizations and found more success than the organizations they left.
Yeah, and during the course of the year, You'll see your ex-girlfriend on TV, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, wow, look at the Raiders with Joe Brady. Oh, my gosh, why did we let him go? But ultimately, are you going to get to the same spot?
We don't know, man. I mean, the thing is, nobody knew
Mike
about Mike McDonald in Seattle. Ben McDonald's the guy that hates hockey.
He hates hockey, yeah.
Mike McDonald.
If you're keeping score like you and I, 1-1, my Joe Reba, you'll see me or Ben McDonald, but go on.
Last year, did anybody think Mike McDonald's going to end up in the Super Bowl? Like, it was a good first year. It wasn't great. This year, defense is humming. We got the right players. Mike McDonald's a Super Bowl coach. I think that's the fear. The fear is that Joe Brady, you let go of that guy, and he does remarkable things once he's left the comforts of his original team. Baltimore certainly feeling it. Harbaugh loses his job. In Jacksonville, Liam Cohen does just fine in his first year. Meanwhile, Tampa, their offense sputters, and they don't make the postseason. I still don't know how Todd Bowles is coaching. And by the way, speaking of Tampa, the Bucs have talked to Sean McDermott just to see if he would be interested in joining Todd Bowles' staff. But we've heard this, and this remains true. He's expected to take the 2026 year off and then come back to his options in 2027. There is a connection between McDermott and Bucs GM Jason Light. They were both with the Eagles from 2003 to 2007. And McDermott also interviewed that coaching cycle for the Bucs head coaching job in 2016. This prompted a new box wine bet. Yes, sports bar faithful.
Mm-hmm.
Gino sniffed it out. Couldn't help himself.
No, this is an easy one, and follow me on this. That if Joe Brady has success in Buffalo, how's that going to help Sean McDermott land his next job? I'm betting it's a bet on Joe Brady. Danger. That's essentially what this is. Because Sean McDermott be like, hey, wow, look at the Bills, how they got better as a team here when Sean McDermott is out. Again, not a college head coach, not a defensive coordinator, NFL head coach.
I'm a Sean McDermott truther. I'm going to go ahead and say that Sean McDermott is coaching in 2027, NFL head coach in 2027. The box wine bet has been set. He either is or he isn't, Gino. There's no gray area here. Like you tried to make the Belichick box wine bet a gray area thing, and it's like, well, he's coaching in North Carolina. No, NFL head coach.
All right, and for example, I won the last one. You said, no, Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. I'm like, no, he'll end up in Pittsburgh, which he did. And that audio of me taunting you.
Can't find it. Yeah, you and Dan are in cahoots. You and Dan DeLorean are in cahoots, and I don't like it.
We got Thad Brown coming up a little bit. We'll get more Bills talk here. Justin Arondecoit has something. Hey, Justin, what's up, bud?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Just had a quick thought on McDermott and the box of wine bet. Sorry, Gino, my spicy Italian friend, but I think I'm going to have to go with Danger on this one. The reasoning here is, and I wasn't even thinking about the bet to begin with, but Baker Mayfield just screams McDermott guy to me, like somebody that he would love to work with and, build a team with and compete with.
Yeah.
Just that gritty,
Scrappy.
hard-working, scrappy guy, and that's kind of how their defense is. Plus, you're in Florida, no taxes.
Yeah.
I think it just all lines up.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call, guys. I'll hang up and
I
listen.
agree. What do you think? When these coaches are out there, what do they right? Like that was the conversation we were having about Harbaugh. Like, what does Harbaugh and Stefanski value at this stage of their career? Hey, if I'm Sean McDermott and I want to say his son is a quarterback in high school, right? Well, you could make that transfer pretty easily down to Florida, right? You put your son in a position to play at the next level if he's playing high school ball in Florida. His daughter is going to be at Notre Dame playing softball. You get sunshine. The complete departure from Buffalo. Go down to Tampa in 2027. You're not feeling good about your box wine bet now, are you, buddy? Justin's on my side.
It's going to taste so good next year. By the way, I am only... Checks notes 3 days away from completion.
Oh, dry January?
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations. Here's to you. Cheers. Not for me.
As the executive producer said, why would you do that to yourself? That's a you problem.
That's right. Yeah, Gio, it's dry January. I don't come to you with my problems. Let's get to Thad Brown. News 8 sports director will get his thoughts on the Joe Brady hire and what we can expect tomorrow when he speaks to the media. Our buddy Thad Brown, News 8 Sports, next on The Fan.
Joe Brady will have his introductory press conference at noon tomorrow. We will have this live for you here on the Fan Rochester. Eric Wood really liking the hire.
I'm excited for Joe. I've had some experience being around him. There's a certain level of accountability that Joe brings on a day-to-day basis to that quarterback room, to the offense. I am much more excited about Joe Brady coming in than I would have been with a lot of the other candidates. I'll say that.
There will be a new defensive coordinator next season in Buffalo. Bobby Babbage is taking a job on Green Bay's coaching staff. Thad Brown from News 8. We'll talk some Bills football coming up next year in the Sports Bar. The Cleveland Browns have hired former Ravens OC Todd Monken as their new head coach. Hockey tonight in the Flower City. The Amerks hosting Hershey. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbergs will have your call beginning at 7. Sabres tomorrow night hosting the Kings. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We hear from Joe Brady tomorrow in Orchard Park. Let's check in with Thad Brown, News 8 sports director. And Thad, now with benefit of 24 hours, I know that initially this was an uninspiring move and a lot of Bills fans kind of pushed back. How are we feeling about the decision to promote Joe Brady to head coach?
I think I'm understanding the logic a little more. You know, one of the things I was doing is kind of Rolodexing through the candidates they interviewed and seeing what the Bills kind of had to choose from. And one of the things you notice right away is that they had 4 guys on their list who had very minimal NFL coaching experience, 3 years or less. Davis Webb and Philip Rivers, obviously, and Nate Scheelhaus and Grant Udinski are all guys that, maybe except for Rivers, certainly have a level of ceiling and excitement and potential that people will talk about, especially, I think, with Davis Webb. But when you're a team that has to win right now, you're a general manager in Brandon Beane making this call knowing that the moment there is any crack in the idea that this is a Super Bowl contender, your seat is going to get exceedingly warm. You can't hire any of those guys. So the Bills interviewed 9 guys. You got half of them that you're basically chopping off the list based on experience. Brian Dable was, I think, a front runner for a lot of us. It seems like the way his tenure ended in the Giants has made him something that the league doesn't want to touch right now. That he's kind of got to go pay a penance, be a coordinator again for a while. Maybe he'll earn his way back to a head coaching job. So you take him off the list, and all of a sudden you're left with Joe Brady and Lou Anarumo and Anthony Weaver and Anthony Lynn, and the other 3 guys not named Joe Brady, although certainly have abilities in their own right, and Anarumo was close to being Steve Spagnuolo light a few years ago. I think Anthony Lynn is probably a better candidate than most people give him credit for. But when you just look at those 4 and think these are probably the only legitimate choices the Bills had, Joe Brady kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because he's got the continuity, he's got the relationship with Josh Allen. He also is a guy that is young enough to where you feel like there's still a ceiling. I don't think the Bills really had much of a choice. And I'm not going to come off the idea that it was uninspiring. I think that's the word that everybody's got. It's the first word I had on it. You can understand why the Bills did it, but this kind of goes back to the idea that Sean McDermott was fired not only in a year where there wasn't a whole lot of great coaching candidates, but at a point in the offseason where the good ones, John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski, were already off the table. So the Bills kind of stuck themselves in this spot. And I think Joe Brady is the best of what's available, even if it is still probably pretty uninspiring.
Isn't this kind of point to the system and the way this is? Because there's one name you didn't mention, Kubiak. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they'll wait for Kubiak. In fact, how much of this is the reality that, okay, you wait for Kubiak, but there's all these other teams that are filling out staffs right now. And if Kubiak wants to have his pick of defensive coordinators, well, I'm going to guess by the time the week after the Super Bowl, 31 teams will have a defensive coordinator, and Buffalo will be the only one.
Certainly unfortunate there because you were 1 4th and 5 Rams pass from having Clint Kubiak available to you, this week. And yeah, I think that's a factor too. And it's not just the Bills' point of view of we want a really good coordinator / staff or whatever to come with Kubiak. It's Kubiak's point of view. He may talk to guys in June and say, hey, if I get a head coaching job, I want you with me as my defensive coordinator or my O-line coach or my quarterbacks coach. And that's all well and good in the summer. But when those guys are unemployed right about now and Clint Kubiak says, hey, hold on 2 more weeks because I might get a head coaching job, I think those guys look at their spouses and their families with maybe job X on the table and say, nah, I can't wait that long. So that goes both ways and makes it really hard to rely on that happening when you're not even beginning with the coaching, progression, building a staff and all that until the middle of February.
Do you think it was something that the Bills ever wanted to deal with, though, Thad? Because I remember we had a conversation about Brian Daboll when we found out that McDermott was gone, and Gene brought up the point that Daboll is the kind of guy that will push back. Daboll will create friction. Daboll will not go in lockstep with everything that the GM wants to do. Whereas if you're Brandon Beane, getting somebody that's malleable is kind of key. And maybe that was what they were looking for, plus a known commodity, which Joe Brady is, and familiarity with Josh Allen, getting him to buy off on the head coaching search. I mean, it checked a lot of boxes. I really didn't know why we weren't talking more about the first guy who interviewed for the job in Joe Brady.
Because it was uninspiring. Because with a team that said we wanted a new voice, they are hiring the guy whose voice has literally been in the quarterback's ear the last 2.5 years. So this does not match with what we heard at the press conference. And if you want to talk about, and this has been a great point, was brought up a lot in the last 24 hours, one of the things that Terry said was the team had hit the proverbial wall. Well, you're promoting two guys now that have been a big hand in building that wall. So, look, there's a lot about this that doesn't make sense, even if I can go candidate by candidate and have Joe Brady be the guy that was the one that made the most sense coming out of it. So I think that's the reason why we land where we land. You bring up a good point, though, about Daboll maybe not necessarily being someone that's looked at as unhireable as a head coach right now by the league, but someone who might not have wanted to fit into the current power structure. And that was something that we said right off the bat. Once the Bills promoted Brandon Beane to the top of the food chain and put the coach underneath him, you're going to cross some names off that list. Like, even if John Harbaugh was available, I highly doubt he wants to walk into Buffalo, be number 2 to Brandon Beane. So that's a choice you make. If you want your power structure to go that way, you're going to probably guarantee, if at the very least promote the idea that the coach and the GM are going to be on the same page, because the coach is subservient to the GM and absolutely has to be on the same page. But you're going to lose the ability to attract coaches who might not want to be a part of that power structure.
Thad Brown from News 8, our guest here. Thad, noon tomorrow in the weight room, the press conference for Joe Brady, and Brandon Beane will also speak. What are some of the top things you're looking to learn about in tomorrow's press conference?
Certainly what went into the hire. We just talked about the fact that it wasn't exactly a new voice. So how much different do we expect Joe Brady's voice to be? We've heard a lot about how Joe Brady convinced everybody in the interview, or wowed everybody in the interview about his ability as a CEO. How does he plan to do that? We want to confirm if Joe Brady is going to call plays. That's been a report, but we want to hear it from the horse's mouth for sure. And then I think the biggest hire he's got coming up is obviously defensive coordinator. So what's his plan there? How much is he going to value experience on his staff? I think most guys who are first-time head coaches will try to bring in, if not long-time experienced coordinators, but coordinators who've had prior head coaching experience. So those are all, things on the laundry list that you would probably ask any typical new coach. I think there will be some questions about how this vision is going to be different enough. How is this direction going to change enough to make the firing of Sean McDermott worthwhile, for lack of a better term? I don't know how much we'll get out of that tomorrow. I don't even know how much the team can really tangibly say about that, but this is kind of the question on fans' mind. This is the reaction I saw from everybody, which is it's a different coach, but it feels like the same vision. So how is this different enough to make the idea that moving on from McDermott was a good move?
Do you think we hear from Josh tomorrow?
I don't know. We were told that we would hear from Josh Allen after the Bills decided on a new coach. Now, that could just simply be at off-season conditioning when he talks anyway in April, but I think the implication was it would be sometime before that. So I've heard some inklings that it might happen, but nothing official just yet, although it would not surprise me at all.
We're talking to Thad Brown, News 8, about the defensive coordinator, and we had the report this time yesterday. Oh, hey, Jim Leonard. I think we're all like, oh, yeah, that would be kind of new, an upcoming guy. But now you have this development out of Cleveland, and we're discussing Jim Schwartz. Now, again, power structure, I don't know if he comes in with too much, under his belt and would demand some certain things, but what direction would you like to see the Bills go on defense, Thad?
I would want an experienced guy like a Jim Schwartz. To me, Schwartz is a home run hire. He's a guy that comes in, knows exactly what he's doing, assuming he wants to fit into the structure, and I think he probably would if he wants to take the job. He'd understand what he's getting into, but he can run the defense. It's going to be a high-level defense. These guys, even though you don't look at this defense and think there's a ridiculous amount of talent. There's some good players on that side, and Sean McDermott certainly got it to be competent enough, and I think that's kind of underselling it. I think Jim Schwartz would give you a lot of the same. There is some risk here. When you move on from Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich now because he's taking the job with the Packers, you are changing the direction of this defense. You can't just throw anyone into that job and expect to get a similar performance. So that this is an important hire. And as much as I like Jim Leonard, I think Jim Leonard's going to be a pretty good defensive coordinator in the NFL. I don't like the idea of a DC kind of learning on the job at the same time as your head coach is not only learning on the job, but apparently also still essentially being the offensive coordinator too. That seems like a lot of newness to expect it to work out next year. Granted, first-time head coaches very rarely win a Super Bowl. Go to a Super Bowl. There's only been 2 first-time head coaches who have made a Super Bowl since the 80s. So the odds are already stacked against Joe Brady. To further make it difficult by bringing in a coordinator who's never done it at the NFL level, at least in Jim Leonard, I think is asking too much. I think you want an experienced guy. Raheem Morris is another name floating around that I would like in general in terms of his ability not only as a defensive coordinator, but he's been a head coach too. I think you want somebody on your staff that can be that sounding board of, hey, you've dealt with this before. What do I do in this situation or managing this personality, or even like, should I run my practices at 9 or 10:30 on a Thursday? All those things I think are valuable to have someone on the staff with experience to answer those questions.
I'm connecting dots as you're talking here, Thad, and as you're going through the list of candidates for DC, and I'm crossing off names. And you can maybe shed some light on this before we get too excited about Jim Schwartz. He was a defensive coordinator in Buffalo. Do we know how that ended when Rex came in? Were there sour grapes there? Would there be sour grapes there? And or should we just all brace ourselves for Brandon Beane hiring Steve Wilkes to be the defensive coordinator in Buffalo?
Going back down the Carolina road again,
That's
huh?
right.
I think, if I remember correctly, and I've been meaning to kind of go back and check this out, I did think there were some sour grapes, but it was so many administrations ago that I don't think it would be a problem. Now, if you wanted to ask me, do I think the Bills land Jim Schwartz, I would probably lean towards no right now because he is going to be a hot commodity. I know the Niners are already rumored to be interested too, and I'm sure that would be a pretty attractive place to go. But I don't think whatever baggage there was when Schwartz departed would still be in the way. If he showed interest, I think he's going to already kind of whatever bygones would have already been bygone by the time he gets to that point.
Yeah, Joe Brady doesn't make the decisions on personnel, but he certainly will have a voice in this. So my question is, all right, the offense, we expect some degree of continuity. There will be some changes, maybe a new offensive lineman. Maybe they don't keep both. Maybe you get a new wide receiver too. The defense, that Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich, no longer here personnel-wise. How different is this going to look? What names might you think the Bills might move off of here?
Well, first of all, it's going to depend on who the coordinator is because, for example, Jim Leonard has generally been a 3-4 guy, and that's not the defense the Bills run. You'd have to find some leaner, faster edge guys to be your outside linebackers, your traditional 4-3 defensive ends. Like Greg Rousseau, who's a pretty solid player, I don't know how much of a fit he is in the 3-4. Do you move him inside and make him a kind of an inside, more of a 5 technique defensive tackle as opposed to an edge? So, there will be big questions that'll be begun to be answered by who the coordinator is, number one. So I think you tell me who's running the defense, and then I can give you an idea of where the Bills would go next. I haven't looked at the salary cap stuff. I don't think the Bills have anything too pressing when it comes to re-signing guys on the defensive side of the ball. I think Matt Milano is likely on the way out. He did play well end of the year, so when Stumby came back, but the Bills redid his contract last summer in a manner that would kind of dictate this last season would have been his last year in Buffalo. So that'd be my expectation. A.J. Epinesa, in terms of just a player the Bills could move off of and probably be okay, would certainly be close to the top of the list, assuming that Michael Hoyt is back and ready to go for the start of the season. But, again, this begins with who's running the defense, and I assume that guy is going to get a lot of say in what kind of defense the Bills run. The other thing, too, is, the question for tomorrow is how much say is Joe Brady going to get in picking his staff? I would assume he gets most of it. But again, he reports to Brandon Beane. So does Brandon Beane want to have say in defensive coordinator? I would imagine that is distinctly possible.
And Steve Wilkes was a head coach at one point, too. Let's not forget. Has some head coaching experience.
You want to talk about uninspiring. He would fall right in line with what the Bills have done so far, but he would check all the boxes.
Blame Danger for bringing that.
I'm connecting dots, Gino. That's all I'm doing. Thad, can we take a second and talk about Sean McDermott? Because there's reports that the Bucks reached out to him, and we kind of heard he's going to take a year off, reassess all of his options next season. And Gene and I have a friendly wager on the line here. I believe McDermott is coaching next season. Gene thinks that if Brady does well, that's more of a stain on Sean McDermott's legacy and that he won't coach in 2027. Break a tie for us.
I think he coaches. Even if Joe Brady ran straight to the Super Bowl this year, there are teams out there that are desperate for Sean McDermott to provide the floor that he clearly proved he could in Buffalo. Remember, he went to a playoff without Josh Allen in year one. So, like, for example, the Jets seem to be an utter mess right now. Aaron Glenn can't even figure out what he wants to do with his staff. And I think I think right this second, Aaron Glenn will be the favorite to be fired first next season. Sean McDermott with the Jets makes a million miles of sense. So if he wants to coach, there will be a job waiting for him, even if Joe Brady goes 17-0 and wins the Super Bowl this year.
Thad Brown from News 8, our guest here in the Sports Bar, noon tomorrow in the weight room. Is that just to get I'm trying to figure, like, why wouldn't they do this in the medium room? Is it just simply they want to fill staff in there to just get the home field advantage and make sure everybody's applauding that?
No, I think usually a first press conference for a new coach is a much bigger deal to where that media room can't accommodate it. To be honest, the Brandon Beane, Terry Pagula press conference was overflowing in the normal media room. So I'm a little surprised that the Bills aren't just doing it in the practice facility. Usually, like when Sean McDermott was introduced, they put up a stage, they have lots of chairs, lots of space, and lots of people to show up for the new coach because they use the football field that's the indoor practice facility. The weight room is certainly bigger than the media room, but it's not nearly as big as the practice facility. And I think part of that is because Joe Brady's not a new guy. This is not an introducing you to Buffalo kind of thing. We've done 100 press conferences with Joe Brady. We kind of have a relationship with him, so that newness is gone. But I still would have, if you wanted to ask me, I would have expected the pomp and circumstance of having the big stage in the main area of the practice facility, not the weight room. And people think weight room, what are they going to have, like Joe Brady talking around a bench press? No, there's like an open area in front of that where you can do maybe 30 yards of quick running and stuff like that. I imagine they're going to set up chairs and a background and a stage there, and that will be a bigger, better space than what we have in the normal media room.
Does Keon Coleman come up tomorrow? And I'm just wondering, where do we actually go from here on this? I think the irony is, hey, he makes a play in the Jacksonville game. Hey, he scores a touchdown in Denver. And now we have this. Thad, your thoughts on what's the future is for number 0 here?
I think Keon Coleman does come up. I think he has to. I think there's an implication out there from the last press conference that it was Joe Brady's idea potentially to pick him over Brandon Beane's assessment, according to Terry Pagula. I think the Bills probably end up keeping Keon Coleman because the one real tangible thing that came out of Pagula and Beane is that the way Pagula talked about Keon depressed any value he has. Even if the Bills wanted to move off of him, are you even getting the old 6th for a 7th pick swap for Keon Coleman right now? I don't think so. So if you evaluated that asset, no matter whether it was the GM or the coaches who did it, as someone worth a high second-round pick, I don't think it's worthwhile to move off of that player for next to nothing or nothing this offseason. You might as well keep him and take one more swing at rehabbing him. And generally, the tradition for Brandon Beane has been for a high draft pick, i.e. Kyer Elam, that you get 3 years, or at least you get a third offseason or the beginning of a third season. So my bet is that we'll hear damage control with Keon Coleman. Joe Brady, I will say this. He does a really good job in the media of expressing confidence in his players. That's one thing. It's one of the tenets of his coaching philosophy is that he says, if I don't believe in these guys, how are they going to believe in themselves? So I think Joe Brady will wax on and on about how much he believes in Keon Coleman. Maybe we'll get an explanation of the draft discussion more. I don't know. But I think end of the day, when the Bills walk into St. John Fisher for camp this year, Keon Coleman will be there.
Yeah, and that you mentioned it. I mean, you've attended dozens and dozens of press conferences with Joe Brady. A lot of fans don't get to see that or don't hear that. I'm guessing that tomorrow he's going to win the press conference. But what are your expectations? But you just mentioned one of his tells where he's going to pump the tires up of his roster. What else can we expect out of the new head coach?
I don't think it's a guarantee he quote wins the press conference because he's got baggage to deal with. You just brought it up. We got to ask him about Keon Coleman. We got to ask him about being different. This is not going to be your traditional day one head coach hire for a head hiring press conference for a number of reasons. I think there's a good chance he does. The thing I really want to see with Joe is how much does he command the press conference like a head coach would? He's been a solid offensive coordinator. He's a player's guy, talks about how, like I said, he inspires the guys, works well with the guys. But I've never really thought of him in terms of a guy as a head coach who can command the whole room, who can be the one guy that everybody looks to. To be honest, of the two guys, just based on press conferences, I would have pegged Bobby Babich as a better head coach, at least in this capacity, than Joe Brady would be. So can Joe Brady pivot to that? He's going to be the CEO now, right? There's a little difference when you're the CEO than when you're the middle manager or the vice president. How much of that do we see in the press conference tomorrow? And it won't, judging it based on tomorrow won't be fair, but certainly over the course of spring practices and training camp, and when Joe Brady's in front of the media 3 times a week instead of once a week, what kind of guy do we get? What kind of presence do we get? How does he manage all that? That's a part of figuring out how he's going to do it this job.
Yeah, Thad, the vast majority of players don't spend their off season in Buffalo. But with that being said, do we need to have some of the leaders? We were speculating whether we'll hear from Josh or not, but even if they're just standing in the back of the room just to show support for Joe Brady, is that a tell one way or another if they're there or not?
No, I think going back to your point about the guys don't spend their off seasons here, this is vacation time for them. It'd be nice if some of them show up, and obviously Josh Allen would be a big part of that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But to be fair, this is their break time. They work a ridiculous schedule. This is with going from the middle of late July all the way through to mid-January, where you have one day off a week sometimes. This is their time to rest up, recoup, family time, all that stuff. So I will not begrudge or draw a conclusion from players not being in attendance tomorrow, because this is supposed to be the beginning of their time, and they deserve to have all of it.
Thad, before we let you go, I don't want to talk about the Patriots being in the Super Bowl with you, but I would like to know how Bill Belichick isn't a first-time Hall of Famer. If you have that Hall of Fame vote, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer for you?
Oh, 100%. It's ridiculous that he's not in. And then I get the argument that there was cheating and he should be held accountable to that, a la Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, that kind of thing in baseball. To me, though, the accomplishments are so overwhelming that the cheating to me doesn't measure up as a reasonable thing to keep him out of the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. If he had won only 3 Super Bowls and only been to 5 conference championships, that'd be one thing. But this guy and his team dominated the league for 20 years, essentially. That, to me, is enough to overwhelm any kind of nits you want to pick with the cheating stuff that happened, which was legit. I mean, you can't gloss it over. But, again, the weight of the accomplishments so far crushes any issues with the cheating stuff he had that the idea that he's not in a first ballot to me is just ridiculous.
Now, Thad, this is all in good fun, good nature, and every Tuesday we're joined by Mike Leone. We played him the clip from the storm there. He says that teammates of Devin Levi are now going up to him asking for weather updates here. So what is he's not on your staff, but what has it been like here at News 8 this week that something like that kind of went just at least locally got a lot of run?
I mean, I totally look. It's rough that it's our station that interviewed Devin Levi without knowing who he was. This happens on a regular basis. Yeah. There's a clip out there of I'm going to get the team wrong probably, but I think it's like the Blackhawks general manager who gets interviewed by someone who's doing man on the street interviews about the trade deadline. Something like, "What do you think of the GM? I'm the GM," that kind of thing. So look, the news people do not know the names of all the players on the hockey team or the football team. It's not their forte. It'd be the same thing if I was trying to do man on the street interviews and I ran into the county executive. I'm probably not recognizing that person in public. That may be not a great example, but one of the things we say in news is that news people would have a much harder time doing sports than sports people would have doing news. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but man, those things are just going to happen. And, as long as you're earnestly trying to do your job as a news reporter, then you understand that occasionally is going to be the result.
I mean, I think the Zubas were the thing, right? Yeah, he just looks like a regular dude. You would have no idea that that's the starting goaltender for the Rochester Americans. Thad, what are you and the crew at Eddie working on here that we could check out at Rochester First?
Oh, big day tomorrow. Obviously, plenty of Joe Brady press conference coverage. We'll have it live, not only on News 8, but also on RochesterFirst.com and on our streaming app, Rochester First. Also, check out BKL Nightly on the Rochester First streaming app. we will wrap up the whole day, reactions to the press conference. Me, Josh Reed, Carl Jones from Buffalo, and then Rachel Liebert and Caleb Carr from the station here in Rochester. We'll all have takes and thoughts and sound bites, and also Thad Brown 7 on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, everywhere. Lots of content there as well.
Yeah, and Thad, it's going to be a newsy day tomorrow. Good luck out there, and looking forward to our next conversation. Thanks for the time today, bud.
Me too. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thad Brown, News 8 Sports Director, joining us here in the Sports Bar. Yeah, in advance of tomorrow's introductory press conference, Joe Brady, your new head coach for the Buffalo Bills.
I don't know if we need Joe Brady to win the press conference tomorrow. Do we? Like, Nick Sirianni had a terrible press conference, and he ended up winning a Super Bowl.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No,
but
we'll
everybody will want to say he won the press conference or this was terrible, and it does not matter. I don't think it will be your. I agree with that. I don't think it's going to be your traditional introductory press conference where you've got the guy reading the prepared statement, take some questions. These questions are going to be it's damage control. I mean, this is introduction to CEO 101 here. Like, you're going to have to answer some questions based on the errors that were made in last week's press conference and try to clean that mess up.
All right, let's just role play this real quick, because if you're fielding questions, these are the questions that will come up. You're Joe Brady. Joe, there were some comments made about Keon Coleman. What are your thoughts about Coleman moving?
Hey, we're big fans of Keon here. The offense doesn't run without a good wide receiver like Keon Coleman. We know he's going to work hard this offseason. We can't wait. Blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Pump the tires.
Here's a tougher one. Joe, you worked under Sean McDermott. How is this going to be different than what we saw from Coach McDermott?
Hey, listen, Sean McDermott gave me a shot to be an offensive coordinator. I learned a lot from Coach, including how to prepare for this instance right now where I'm talking to all of you on this great day, and how are things going to be different. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be the play caller that I've always been. I'm going to be the coach that I've always been. I can't be Sean McDermott, but I can be Joe Brady, and I'm going to be the best Joe Brady I can possibly be.
So you mentioned you are going to be, the play caller. Are you concerned that's too much on your plate, Joe?
No, because you know what? We've got a great support staff here in Buffalo, and everybody comes to play every day. I can lean on my guys and know that we're going to get the job done.
How weird is your owner?
He's an alien, to be honest with you. When he sheds his skin, he's got 18 eyeballs, and he just farts money all the time. He really is a weird guy. Billionaires shouldn't speak in public. There, I said it. Next question.
Yeah, that last one will be happening.
We will get to happy hour next on The Fan as we continue in the sports bar. We've got a round of shots coming up, and your calls as well are always welcome at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. In the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills head coach Joe Brady will have his introductory press conference tomorrow at noon. We'll have it for you right here on The Fan Rochester. Eric Wood on the offense and defense.
Offensively, you assume it'll be fairly the same, where Joe Brady loves to attack matchups, whether that's on the ground, whether that's through the air. Defensively, I'd love to know what direction he wants to go. And oftentimes it's interesting. Oftentimes you'll go with a coordinator that you feel like that, style is the hardest to go against.
There will be a new defensive coordinator in Buffalo, Bobby Babich, leaving the Bills. He's now on Green Bay's coaching staff. Cleveland Browns have hired former Ravens OC Todd Monken as their new head coach. Tonight, the Amherst hosting Hershey. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks will have your call here on The Fan beginning at 7. The Red Hot Sabres tomorrow night hosting the Kings. Gene Battaglia, sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
It is happy hour. Welcome into Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. Thanks for listening. 95.7 FM, AM 950. If you're mobile, the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps all work. Search out The Fan Rochester. Also look for our YouTube and Twitch channel. You can find us at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch, where we stream live every afternoon. I'm Danger, and that's Battaglia.
I realize your take is not you. Okay, but I'm not very happy with you. And if I had to kind of describe this as a meme, right? Hey, what could get Bills fans excited, right? Maybe you're like, okay, Joe Brady, we're going to give it a shot. But, yeah, what's going to go on with the defense? You heard Jim Leonard yesterday. This is like the three snakes or whatever. And you have one, Jim Leonard, yeah. And then you have the story out of Cleveland. Jim Schwartz not going to stick around.
Yeah.
Mike Danger has to bring up another name, Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, that's who the GM wants. He's the guy in charge.
He's free and clear. You can get him real cheap. I'm
hire
sure.
whoever he wants. He's going to hire his buddy. He's going to hire Steve Wilkes. We're going to hate it. We're going to go upside down. And then we'll, give ourselves some time and we'll convince ourselves, oh, it'll be okay. It'll be fine. No, the guy that was the Jets that couldn't last a season with the Jets last season will be fine as our defensive coordinator.
So Joe Brady goes into the interview, right? And yes, very impressive. And as he should. He should know the beats. He knows the people. He's probably been coached up on this, right? And, hey, you don't know much about the other side of the ball. What are your thoughts? If he did a shred homework, if he brought up or he reached out to Steve Wilkes, knowing that Wilkes had a connection with Bean, and there's nods all around the room, because at that point you don't know it's Schwartz. Come on. At that point, you have no idea about the guy in Denver.
What I wonder about Schwartz is, would he come back? He was here. He did the Buffalo defensive coordinator thing.
He did, but it was understood that, okay, Rex comes in. Schwartz is not sticking around. This is Rex's defense.
Yeah.
Like Patton.
I that's what I'm kind of curious about. Like, was he okay with that? Or did he not enjoy the time that he was here? Did he not enjoy being a part of the organization when he's here? These are the things that we don't know. Like, I have no idea.
Long time ago, right? That's Russ Brandon sort of football.
Still Pagula, though.
Still Pagula.
Right? I don't know. I think if you're Jim Schwartz and you have your pick of a handful of jobs, I don't know how desirable Buffalo is, except that, you have a good offense and Josh Allen, but you're basically holding the hand of a first-time head coach.
Steeler fans are salivating right now. Like, oh, wow. If we could, because the Steelers have pieces there. And let's be honest, right? Just how good are the Bills players on defense? We think Ed Oliver's good. We kind of see a flash every so often for Rousseau, but we want more.
I like Bishop. I like Benford.
I like Bishop and Benford, but does Bishop, McDermott put him under his wing. He was really coaching that kid up. And you remember like that embrace the two had after the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, like how is Bishop going to be going forward?
If you hire Leonard, I feel like Leonard can get the same, if not more, out of Bishop moving forward. But I don't like the idea of a lack of experience at DC when you already have an inexperienced head coach.
Thad Brown brought up a good point, too. Like Leonard going back, he's always run a 3-4. His personnel's not 3-4.
Right.
Like, what do you do?
And I'll also put this out there. And another reason why it could be, in my opinion, like if nobody's talking about Steve Wilkes, but if they do hire a guy like Steve Wilkes and it doesn't go well first year for the Bills defense, Joe Brady's got his first scapegoat.
We're thinking that far
I
ahead.
really am, man. I think you have to, because if you're Sean McDermott, you know, year one, you're there, but it's not perfect. You get to the postseason, but you know that there's things that need to improve, right? You're constantly, he was churning. He churned through, who was it? Rick Dennison was year one, right? Like it wasn't perfect. Yeah. It wasn't a perfect coaching staff, but he made it work, and they got to the postseason, and they ended the drought, and then you start to look for upgrades. And so year one, I think it's fair to assume that whoever they bring in to be the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, they're your first scapegoats if it doesn't go your way. And even if it does go your way and you make the postseason and you get bounced again and it's more of the same, you have your scapegoats ready to go.
Well, at least we can say that it's not running it back with Joe Brady if Bobby Babich is out the door.
Bobby Babich is out the door.
He is gone. He is now going to be responsible passing game coordinator on the defensive side of the ball for the Green Bay defense, now working under Gannon, the former Arizona head coach who lands in Green Bay. These are all moving chess parts around the board, so Babich someday will get another shot at being a DC, I'm sure. But you had to move off of that. Like, if there's one guy that like was really in lockstep with McDermott, it was that guy. And if there's a defense, like, I will listen to the argument that really that has been the Achilles heel, and you spent all this draft capital last year on defense, and the result in the end was still the same. You're giving up 30 points in a playoff loss.
Yeah. Some other movement around the league, names that we've kind of been tracking through this head coaching search. Davis Webb. So yesterday at this time, we learned that the Broncos moved off of their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. And immediately we thought, oh, well, they're making room for Davis Webb. They're going to promote Davis Webb, and he'll be the offensive coordinator under Sean Payton. Well, if you're Davis Webb and you're looking out for your best interests, let's get some competition before you just commit to Denver. He's going to take interviews with the Eagles, the Giants, and the Ravens to be the OC.
He should. And really, it's kind of like the situation Andy Reid. Like, if you're working under Sean Payton, guess what? He's the alpha. That's his offense. Do you get the credit? You go to one of these other places and you can call the plays and kind of design it. That might be a better fit for you if you're Davis Webb. Also, his agent's doing his job, right? Like, okay, Denver, you really want him? Pay up.
That's right.
Yeah, pay me money in cash.
In Jacksonville, they're going to run it back. Grant Udinski will return as offensive coordinator. They're also going to keep their defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanelli. They will be back on the sidelines 2026 for Jacksonville. So Udinski, at some point, will probably get a look for head coach, but it won't be this year.
This is going to be fascinating. Like, wouldn't you just love to kind of look into the window 5 years from now? Like, where does Grant Udinski go? And it could be like, oh, my gosh, that guy is coaching 1AA. But same thing with Schlierhaus. Like, one of these guys will pop, and will we look back at this point in time and be like, boy, the Bills really blew it. That superstar coach they had right in their grasp, and they didn't go for it because, well, continuity or Josh Allen or whatever it may be. And that's what's going to be fascinating.
Best case scenario for Joe Brady is what? Kevin O'Connell? I mean, I'm thinking of names that kind of came out of nowhere, offensive-minded guys that kind of came out of nowhere. And granted, these are all guys that came from the McVay coaching tree, whether you're talking about, Kevin O'Connell or Zach Taylor.
Who was just bringing up Taylor? Taylor got the Bengals to a Super Bowl,
Right.
and they came within a few plays.
Right. No, he doesn't have the McVay coaching tree pedigree, but he has his resume is not. I mean, the Carolina gig was terrible, but that was the Matt Rule era.
Yeah,
in Carolina.
and honestly, Danger, 6 years of experience should matter. He's 36. Their guys are being 30. I think that age feels right for this group right now.
I agree. Yeah, maybe the ceiling is a Zach Taylor. Like, that's the ceiling. You get him over the hump. You get him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like, I don't think Zach Taylor's a good coach because, my gosh, do they have a little bit of dysfunction behind the curtain there in Cincinnati? Yeah,
he's a good head coach. Given everything that they have, yeah, and that's an organization that suffered through Marvin Lewis all those years. So I think they'll continue to suffer with Zach Taylor.
I had an epiphany. And I feel like I'm standing on my own here. I'm the meme of the old man in the town hall meeting, standing up and everybody's looking at you.
Yeah? What's that?
Well, Joe Brady's going to do all right next year.
You hope.
But as a byproduct and in a league where everybody wants offensive coordinators, I don't think Sean McDermott lands a job next year.
Yeah.
And everybody's saying, no, he's going to be the head. I don't know. You're sitting out a year. That's an easy box wine bet. I'm going to have to wait a year to collect on.
No, you're not collecting on this one. And you're right. Everybody that we bring this up to says you're crazy. He's coaching next year. And you could say, oh, he's a defensive-minded guy. They don't want defensive-minded guys. I want culture guys. I want guys that are going to offer me a higher floor than what my organization currently gives me. Like, if he was interested in coaching this year, he should go to Arizona. He should go to the Raiders. He would be awesome for those two teams. But if you want to look ahead to 2027, we had Thad on with us last hour. We both said, right away, like, oh, God, the Jets would absolutely make sense for McDermott. He could go in there, mask all the dysfunction of ownership and management, and turn it around, turn it into a winning program, a culture of winning with the Jets. Today, hearing that the Bucs reached out to him is interesting to me, because if you're Sean McDermott and you value being down in Florida at this stage of your life with your kids growing up, and
well, for a guy who's battling skin cancer, I would think no. That might come with some challenges.
You wear the big hat, the big floppy hat every day. Lather up with the SPF 1000. He actually spoke with the Bucs about joining Todd Bowles' staff this season. Everybody kind of saying no, he's taking this year off, but McDermott does have a connection with Tampa. The GM there, Jason Light, was with the Eagles at the same time as McDermott from 2003 to 2007, and he also interviewed for the Bucs head coaching job in 2016. I can't believe Bowles is still employed by the Buccaneers. I think he's probably in a very short leash in 2026.
Yeah, like if you had to say, okay, how did Tampa, Jets, who's the next? It's such a feels wrong. Like we're predicting who's going to get fired.
Oh, we did this last year too.
We do it, yeah.
We knew, bro. Like Brian Daboll's dead man walking. That's going to be a tough one in New York. Look at when the schedule came out. Oh my God, they're not making it. He's going to make it past week 5. What are we doing?
You know what's crazy about this with this news, and like the Bills have been eliminated here well over a week. We still haven't even it just crossed my mind the bold predictions. We haven't gotten to our bold predictions.
Oh, right.
That feels like we're going to wait now until after the Super Bowl. Like tomorrow, by the way, we will carry that press conference for you live, noon, from the weight room. So they need a little bit more space to introduce Joe Brady. And then joining us also on the show tomorrow, she has thoughts.
Oh.
Maggie Gray.
Nice.
Coming back.
I like that.
Brad in Rochester. You can join us at 866-4FAN. Hey, Brad.
Hey, here's the team that he's going to go to. He's going to take over for Sirianni and bring culture back to Philly.
Wow. That would
Think about it.
That would be
no
bold.
one wants to be an OC there because they don't want to deal with Sirianni. You bring McDermott back home, and suddenly an OC gets there. Everybody's happy. Good culture. There you go.
Wow. Brad.
Well, only on one condition. Sean, are you willing to keep your director of security?
Hey, Big Dom. We can't get rid of Big Dom. Why can't we get rid of him? I don't need a guy to. I don't need security. No, you need Big Dom. No, we got to move on. We ain't moving off of Big Dom. Why? Because he's Italian.
Following a 1-point win and went into the Eagles' locker room. He has his own locker. Right alongside the players.
Yeah, Big Dom.
And Big Dom. And Big Dom, they put up the nameplates, and it's just Big Dom and a little Italian flag. I'm like, oh, my gosh. Well, now I can't take a picture of this to show Danger because that's prohibited. As
What
you
a
can
character.
imagine, but
What an
I'm like,
absolute
oh my
character.
gosh, this is awesome.
He's got a towel after the game. He's wiping marinara sauce from his brow, not sweat.
Hey, who are you talking?
Hey,
Locker room
I'm talking
closed.
about Big Dom. I like that prediction, Brad. I like that prediction a lot. That's bold.
No, that's bold. And you know what? I remember the days we bringing on guys from WIP. Hey, what do you think of Sean McDermott? We're like, oh, yeah, that guy? No, they do not think highly of him.
They would eat him alive.
They would obliterate him. And Andy Reid ran tracks over the back. Hey, I need to save myself. You're out, Sean McDermott, firing him mid-season.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be funny.
They're not bringing him back to Philly.
That would be funny. That's bold. That is bold. What's bolder, him going to Philly or him bursting into flames the second he sets foot in Tampa? I think he's coaching next year, Gino. I think he's coaching next year. I think, come to think about it, Arizona, Vegas, maybe he wouldn't go to those places because 1 foot outside and poof, he's vapor. He blips like an Avenger. Well, the box wine bet is on. We're overdue. We've got another one. I believe he's coaching in 2027. Head coach in the NFL in 2027. Gene believes Joe Brady will put so much success under his belt in year one that it'll be a further stain and nobody will want to deal with Sean McDermott.
Well, we're going to be doing the comparison game the whole time, right? Like, okay, would Sean have done this? Like, there'll become a game situation where Brady will handle it differently. And how would a McDermott? Like, it's going to take a while to kind of move off from McDermott here.
Yeah. Breakups are hard, man. You know, McDermott left his sweatshirt behind, and you got to go back and retrieve the sweatshirt that McDermott left behind. You know, like it's not, you know, his big floppy hat is going to be in the.
Can you do me one favor?
What's that?
So at some point, McDermott's going to speak, and I'm not talking about talking to the Athletic and in print. I'm saying in front of a microphone. Just one more time, McDermott McLies. When that does happen.
Oh, by the way, I didn't share this with you. I'm sharing this with you for the very first time, Gino. You did not hear this from anybody. Yesterday, we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we continue in the spirit of McDermott McLies when Brady speaks to the media, you know, on a weekly basis, gives his weekly press conference. How do we identify the lies that are told? They're not really lies.
Yeah.
They're just cliches, and they're pumping up the tires of the opponent. And, you know, we had so many golden nuggets from McDermott over the years. We have to keep this tradition going with Brady, but how do we call it? What do we need alliteration. We need something, right?
Brady's bluffs, Brady's bonk, Brady's, BS.
I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Our buddy Bobo works for the Red Wings.
Yeah.
He sent me a direct message, and he said, "Tell me lies, tell me sweet Brady lies," to the tune of Fleetwood Mac's Little Lies. So don't worry. I'll get in the lab. Maybe I'll get Sean from Long Island to produce something for us. We will have sweet Brady lies.
Sweet Brady lies.
Tell me lies. Tell me
lies.
sweet Brady lies, and we will be ready for the new season. We should be ready for tomorrow because maybe tomorrow.
Tomorrow
will be the first episode.
I mean, we'll be kind of like getting our notebook. Okay, what did Brady say about this? What did he say about that? We'll all be listening intently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe we go back and like, oh, wait a second, you're full of it talking about Keon Coleman here or whatever.
Yeah. We really like Keon Coleman. We respect his game. Can't wait to see him on the field. Know he's going to improve this year. Yeah. But tell me lies. Tell me sweet Brady lies.
Danger. Normally I would say, hey, bring that to committee. No. You made the correct executive decision.
No.
That is the winner.
As soon as I saw Bobo's direct message, I'm like, dude, that's the winner. That is a winner. And, you know, it just shows more creative people than you and I out there.
100%.
That can help us make this show better on a daily basis. We're a nice little community of sports fans. That's what we're trying to build here. We got to make room for Ryan Latchberry of the Rochester Nighthawks. He's going to join us during last call, Gino. So let's go ahead and get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, as Danger, I feel like we're neglecting the hockey team.
Oh, God.
They're really good.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
I know that,
smacked
like,
Toronto.
I know hockey isn't everybody's favorite, right? But, like, when you see when the Amerks are doing well, you can feel the spirits lift in this community. And I can imagine right now in Buffalo, even with all of the things that have happened with the Bills, that the spirit is lifting gradually as this team continues its pace. It's just, they just keep winning. Another winning streak, 4-game winning streak now. We're counting another winning streak.
So this is the best 23-game stretch in Sabres history.
Fantastic.
Since 1970. All right, keep this going. We also got a story out of baseball where, like, I want to give baseball a chance. I want to.
Yeah.
And another example how they can't get out of their own way here.
All right, we'll get to that. We got a round of shots coming up. And Ryan Lanchberry, the Rochester Nighthawks, joining us before 6 o'clock as well on the Sports Bar.
You're listening to the Sports Bar.
Buffalo Bills head coach Joe Brady is going to have his introductory press conference at noon tomorrow. We'll carry it live for you here on the Fan. Rochester, Eric Wood liking Brady.
I'm excited for Joe. I've had some experience being around him. There's a certain level of accountability that Joe brings on a day-to-day basis to that quarterback room, to the offense. I am much more excited about Joe Brady coming in than I would have been with a lot of the other candidates. I'll say that.
There will be a new defensive coordinator in Buffalo as Bobby Babich takes a job on Green Bay's staff. The Browns have hired former Ravens OC Todd Monken as their new head coach. Hockey coming up at 7 here on The Fan. The Emirates hosting Hershey. Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks with the call. Save today, get my perks, get a $50 certificate toward dinner at Brown Hound Downtown inside the Memorial Art Gallery. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Bills fans, Odyssey is your home for football. Stay up to date on everything Bills, no matter where you are, with the Odyssey app and the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour continues in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia ready for a round of shots.
You want to talk about a human interest story? May I present to you Rasmus Dahlin? Now, we knew the story of his fiance with the heart and everything, and he had to go take time. Well, we didn't know until this week when she put it on Insta that sadly that they lost a child, and that child's due date would have been Monday. So here in the first game after that, Rasmus Dahlin putting up his first career hat trick, 5 points overall. This team. Nothing could stop. Hey, your starting goaltender goes out last night. UPL, don't know the status here. Well, no problem. Colton Ellis comes in, makes 16 saves. Toronto ends up scoring 4. No problem. The Sabres score 7. Buffalo winning that game. Kings coming to town tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to learn what the turning point was. And I'm not going to accept that it's as simple as they moved off of Kevin Adams. I don't know that affects the way the players play, because they are playing. It's a lot of the same guys, a handful of new guys, but a handful of same guys that altogether they are a wagon. They're just a wagon. I mean, I didn't have Zach Benson becoming a rat. When he was drafted, that's a development that I love. Dahlin with the hat trick, rounding into form. I mean, earlier this season, it looked bad. It was really bad. We were still saying the S word. We can't.
No,
we're not going to bring it up.
No. Now?
Well, I mean, the winning streaks have been great. Now they're on a 4-game winning streak. They're on a tear. And we'll get through the Olympic break and see if it's sustainable. But right now, man, they're a top 10 team in the league. They're just not losing. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, but how's this look? This Olympic break of all the years that this is going to actually happen. One interesting note from the AHL. By the way, Danger and I will be out at the Amherst game, Hall of Fame night. Marty Baran will be joining us live on the Sports Bar Friday. Confirmed.
Nice.
He's going to be introducing Demon Lonson. So a lot of Amherst talk coming up Friday, Blue Cross Arena. If you're going out to the game, please stop by. We'll be right above the atrium there in the hallway. The last time we had an AHL team relocate, that was in 2022. Stockton moving to Calgary. We're going to have one next season, Bridgeport. No more. The Islanders are going to move their prospects again to Hamilton. How many times is Hamilton going to get a crack at this, by the way? I would think that this is an easy switch for the league in terms of realignment. Right now, Bridgeport is in the Atlantic Division. The Atlantic in this conference with 8 teams. In the Amerks Division, the North has 7. So just flip it. Yeah, and you'll have Hamilton as a divisional opponent next season.
Okay. Will they be the Bulldogs again? Or will they be the Islanders?
Yeah, the Canadians, too, I want to say. Like, they've been a few different things. But the Bulldogs, I would think, would be on the top of the list, right?
I remember the Hamilton Bulldogs. It's been a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you pick something new altogether.
So that's next season?
That is next season.
Okay.
Jessica Pegula goes to the next round of the Australian Open. She's in the semifinals of this tournament for the first time, taking out the 4th seed, Amanda Anisimova, straight sets. And the path actually got better for Pegula last night. It's not going to be Iga Swiatek in the next opponent. Elena Rybakina his next opponent. Rabakina defeating Swiatek. Swiatek was trying to complete the Grand Slam here. Rise and shine tomorrow, 5 a.m. Eastern time for Pegula's match. Insert the I hope Terry Pegula has a chance to watch this joke here.
I'm not setting my alarm for that one. I mean, I hope she does well. We've seen this movie before, haven't we?
Right. And Ed would say maybe she wins this, but Sabalenka is the number 1 seed, and she's on the other side waiting for her. So
she's pretty good.
Yeah.
She's kind of a force. I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not holding my hope.
Well, good news is, you'll be able to cut a fillet with the steak knives you get at the Australian Open if you're Jessica Pegula.
Baseball danger can't seem to get out of their own way.
Tell me.
I can't tell you how you should feel as a fan, but personally, I find this annoying.
Okay.
Now coming up in March, the World Baseball Classic, and it was one of those like, when this was around 3 years ago, like, you know what, this isn't so bad. And by the end, like, okay, they've got something here. Well, there are 2 players that won't be participating this time around. Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve. No big deal, right? Oh, no. They want to play. Problem is they can't play. Why? Insurance. They can't get insurance on their contracts. In the case of Correa, if he were to get hurt in the World Baseball Classic, his $30 million contract with the Astros would be void. 3 years ago, the Mets lost their closer, Edwin Diaz, to an ACL injury at the World Baseball Classic.
I wonder about the Olympics, since we were just talking about the Olympic break and the Sabres. Like, I'm not saying that I'm upset that Tage Thompson is, like, it's great. Stay healthy. Don't get injured in the Olympics, pal. Do not take an injury in the Olympics. We'll all be holding our breath for that. That's interesting, but it is annoying. I mean, if this is a tournament that they want eyeball, like, I want the best players out there.
Yeah,
it would be great.
Yeah, and so Bo Bichette, New York Met, right? He had verbally committed to playing for Brazil. Now, his mother's from Brazil. That's why he would be on there. Except now, no, he's not going to do it. For Met fans, like, okay, good, you're not going to get hurt. But wait a second, that's not what this is all about. You should have all the players involved in this.
I think the World Baseball Classic will probably play out the way I remember it playing out the last time, where, like, early rounds don't care, early games don't care. You get to the final, and it's wildly entertaining.
Yeah, and you have Shohei Ohtani striking out Mike Trout.
Well, it checks out. Mike Trout, as we know, documented loser, not a winner. Guy can't win.
Don't cut anybody any slack.
Win something, and then we'll talk about how great you are. You got a nice paycheck, and yeah, sure, you put up some nice numbers when you're healthy. Not a winner. Has never won anything.
No, not a sporting event, but I want Danger's take on this. Some might argue that this kind of maybe qualifies because it requires athleticism beyond belief. That Netflix show from over the weekend, Skyscraper Live.
I'm so glad we're talking about this.
Drew 6.2 million.
Yep.
Now, if you're not familiar with this, Alex Honnold, is that how you say his name?
Alex Honnold, yeah.
Yeah, his solo climb, Taipei 101. I mean, this is a free climb. There's no harness. There's no net. There's no nothing. One slip, you're dead, right?
Yep.
By comparison, the Winter Classic didn't even draw 1 million. So, I'm afraid of heights. There's no way I can watch
I watched it, and some of the shots gave me anxiety. Yeah, some of the shots, I was getting dizzy watching it. So if you're not familiar with Alex Honnold, there's a doc. I think it's on Disney Plus. Free Solo. Free Solo is the movie. And Free Solo kind of documents this climber's journey. He wants to climb El Capitan in California, free solo, without any harness, without any ropes, just climb. I mean, the idea that you make one wrong move, your finger slips, you go to reach something and it's not there, or it gives out, you're dead. You're falling to your death every time you partake in this. Now, the Skyscraper Live, Taipei 101, I imagine he probably knew exactly what path he was going to take and how he was going to attack it. And you can practice. It's not like you can practice with a harness. You can practice with ropes.
And there has to be certain conditions. So this got delayed because it was a little too windy. Hey, understandable.
Right.
Fine. Don't have any wind.
And it was windy when he did it. I mean, I'm watching it, and you can kind of see the wind and hear the wind. And he even made a couple comments about the wind. I was checking my heart rate. I'm like, this is this is unbelievable. I can't, I'm not wishing this guy to fall because I knew he was going to make it because he's remarkable. He's just the best ever. He's the Michael Jordan of rock climbers, right? Like, I knew he was going to make it, but at the same time, I'm holding my breath because some of these, there wasn't a moment where it's like, but every time you see him kind of go to grab something that doesn't look like it should be something he grabs, you kind of hold your breath a little bit. And then at the very end, there's a spire at the top of the building, and he's climbing the spire. I'm like, this guy, and he's standing on the very top of the spire, and he's taking selfies, and the camera's panning all around. I'm getting dizzy. I'm like, this is too much.
This is awful.
But $6.2 million, man, that is
that's
an event.
The next one, people, because to me, this was something that, like, wait a second, what is all this chatter? And then you see it after the fact, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like the next one, it'll double that.
He's different. He's a different cat. If you watch Free Solo, if you've watched it, then you know what I'm talking about. He is just kind of he's a different cat. He's just a different breed of cat. I don't know medically what it is or if he's been labeled or diagnosed with anything, but he is so in that moment when he's climbing, so dialed in and so precise and really an exceptional athlete, because I don't know how you have the kind of grip strength and forearm strength to do and leg strength to do everything, core strength to do everything that he does. I marveled at it. I thought it was remarkable.
Well, there are other things not exactly like this, but I think back to the Wallendas, on the tightrope.
Right.
And there was a thing, you probably saw this growing up, like it was the Faces of Death, right? And it's one of the old man falling, and he's falling to his death. Isn't this how this is going to end with this guy at some point if he continues to do this?
It would be.
Shouldn't we be not watching this?
It would be tragic. But look, he made a really hefty paycheck for doing this, ridiculous paycheck for doing this, and at minimum, you could say, his wife was there, and I know he's got a daughter or two daughters, maybe, 2 kids. And at minimum, you've set them up now for life. He doesn't have to do anything else for the rest of his life if he doesn't want to. He doesn't have to climb anything anymore if he doesn't want to. They're set. And not that they were struggling before. I imagine they were probably doing okay, but the paycheck from Netflix is impressive. And he was remarkable. That was a fun watch. It surprised me how much I enjoyed that.
$500,000. That's all he got paid, Danger.
Oh no, I think there was another check.
Okay.
I don't know if
Did he get a bonus?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Congratulations, you survived.
Did it fit the cap? Well, you know what?
We got to get to Rochester Nighthawks. Ryan Lanchbury, the team in town this weekend.
Yeah, taking on Vancouver Saturday night.
All right, so we'll get a little Nighthawks update here before we close up shop at 6. Ryan Lanchbury, the Rochester Nighthawks, joining us next on The Fan.
You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Vancouver coming to Blue Cross Arena Saturday night. Our Rochester Nighthawks are home. As we like to do when the Nighthawks are in town, let's get a check-in on the team. Ryan Lanchberry, the Rochester Nighthawks, joining us now in the Sports Bar. Bud, thanks for your time. When last we saw you a couple weeks ago, one goal loss to Toronto. Now, we've noticed a trend when we talk to like hockey guys. A lot of hockey coaches and hockey guys will say things like, it was a loss, but we felt like our team played one of their best games of the year. What do you think about your team's performance against Toronto the last time we saw you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a unit, we know that was not our best game. In the National Lacrosse League, you got to play 60 minutes, and we definitely did not do that at all. We let our foot off the gas in the second half. Pretty disappointing effort there in the second half from us, and we know that's not a good enough effort, and good enough urgency to close out a game. So, take a deep look in the mirror and come back this week better prepared and with a better mindset.
Yeah, Ryan, congratulations, by the way. New contract. You are here now with the Nighthawks organization under contract until spring of 2030. Your decision here to re-up with Rochester.
Yeah, I mean, Rochester's where I want to be. It's home for me, or my second home, I should say. And, it's exactly the group of guys that I want to do it with. And I think what Dan is building here is a really special group, a special culture, a team that's really deep and talented and has our eyes on a championship. So I think kind of in all fronts, it's the place I wanted to be and, the people I wanted to be around. So I was really happy to get it done.
Heading into Week 10 of the regular season, what's your overall vibe on this year's squad sitting at 4-2 here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid start to the year. Certainly throughout a year, there's going to be, ebbs and flows. As I kind of discussed, in the first question there, I think last week was a little bit of a low for us. But I think, overall, big picture, I think we're off to a solid start and, kind of growing as a unit and our focus is just getting better week by week and kind of setting our eyes on the championship. And we know that we have to kind of take every week, one game at a time and, we can only focus on what's right in front of us. But I think we're building up to kind of the expectation that we've kind of set for ourselves.
So the standings, it's really a schmozzle, right? Everything is just so bunched up. You get one bad streak and get one good streak. It's going to make a difference. Nighthawks at 4-2, Vancouver at 4-2. So tell us a little bit of what you know about these guys that are coming into Rochester Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean they're another really good team. Maybe the biggest team in the league. Really, really big, especially on the back end. Christian Del Bianco, kind of widely regarded as the best goalie in the world, and really solid defensive unit. Their offense is really solid as well, and they brought in some key pieces with Dixon and King in the offseason as well. So they got a lot of firepower. So it's going to be a great battle for us. It's going to be a tough battle. We know that we have to take it shift by shift against them. And we know that they're going to bring their best, and it's going to be who can play harder for 60 minutes and smarter for 60 minutes.
So we haven't talked to you since early in the month. Thank you for being Buffalo. Honestly, that means a lot to us here in Rochester. We need our own identity in that game. 7 points for McConvey. What kind of role is McConvey on right now for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's a special player. He's kind of got all the tools to be a superstar in this league, which he is. He's kind of blossomed into that, over the last couple of years. And, 6'4" or something like that, 220. I may be making those up a little bit, but roughly around that, big body, super skilled, shoots the ball incredibly well from the outside, got really soft hands, willing to get in the middle and do the dirty work. And kind of set picks and create some space for Fields there on the left side. So, he's a pretty special talent. And like I said, he's got every single tool to work with.
Yeah, and one last one, Ryan, because you mentioned Rochester, your second place. You're from Ontario there. I would imagine you're a Jays fan. Did you get to meet Ernie Clement there a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I did. I'm a Jays fan. I'm actually I'm buddies with Ernie. I've met him through a mutual. One of my best friends is one of his best friends. So I've got to spend a good amount of time with Ernie in Toronto, and so it was kind of nice to have him with the boys and get to see him in Blue Cross Arena and just kind of have him around the guys. It was a really special day.
Has he invited you to Oak Hill yet? No,
I'm still working up. I'm working up to that one.
All right. Ryan, Saturday night, Nighthawks against Vancouver. Looking forward to this. Now that football season's over, we're turning our attention fully to the Nighthawks. Ryan, thanks very much for your time, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Ryan Lynchberry, the Rochester Nighthawks. Hell, with Ernie, I mean, why not just let him suit up and play for the Nighthawks, too? I mean, show up at your pickup hockey game, play some baseball, go ahead and play some lacrosse while he's at it.
I don't know if the Jays would sign off on that.
No, they wouldn't be okay with that? No? Okay, well,
yeah,
Oak Hill.
It's kind of physical out there.
Oak Hill in the spring it is. Love Ryan Lynchberry joining us here, somebody that we're going to be following here as the Rochester Nighthawks continue their campaign. It's Vancouver on Saturday night at Blue Cross Arena.
Whoa, tomorrow. Yes, we'll carry that press conference live at noon. We will talk to one of our favorites when it comes to Bills commentary, the great Maggie Gray, who at some point will have something to announce. I don't know if tomorrow's the day, but I want to get her Bills thoughts.
Well, we know that Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, I think the last time we spoke with her was before Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So, a lot has happened. The world has changed quite a bit for the Buffalo Bills. Getting her insight on that will be, that'll be must listen. 3:25 tomorrow afternoon. And if you miss the press conference, the introductory press conference at noon, we'll also make sure we recap that for you tomorrow afternoon here in the Sports Bar. If you missed Thad Brown from News 8 Sports, as Joe Brady's next task, filling out a coaching staff. You can find that wherever you get your shows. Search the Sports Bar, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Thanks for listening. BetMGM tonight on the way next.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950.